Oh, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the biggest stream in all of Warhammer history. How's it going, everybody? This is a very auspicious day indeed, because if you have read the title to this stream, then you know that revelations will be occurring today. Oh, yes, indeed. 10th edition, ladies and gentlemen. 10th edition is coming. It's coming. And I can prove it. Prove it, probably, with conjecture and speculation and evidence. Oh, yes. Lots and lots and lots of evidence. Lots of them. Okay, so... Alright, so the people are saying I was late because of the fancy hat. No, I was late because they were trying to stop me. They were trying to take me down. They were trying to prevent the truth from coming out. It's coming. It's coming. I have oodles of conjecture. You will see. There's tons of it. Dorky Dad, hello. Why not skip to the 11th edition like Microsoft with their Windows to show how much they upgraded it from 9th edition for Sphere? It's a good idea. It's a very good plan. It's a very good plan to just go straight to the 11th. If they're going to do an edition at all. Oh, see, that's a little side road we're gonna go down today. We're gonna go down a little side road as well. We're gonna be taking some suburbs. But I will be taking you along the motorway to 10th edition first. I'll be taking you there. Hello there, Cool Knot. Second, thank you very much for the membership. Of course, 10th edition is coming, and I bet 11th edition is coming too in the next 10 years. Thank you very much. Yes, I agree. In the next 10 years. Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe 11th edition isn't coming. Perhaps by then we'll have ascended above, beyond what is necessary for editions at all. Okay. Doobie-Man says you're not late, you're about 78 months early. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want. No, my hat! Okay. I almost dropped it. I almost dropped my hat. Oh, dear. Hello there, Fungazi. Good afternoon, Warhams. Yes, Warhams indeed. Gotta make sure it's sitting right. Okay. So, right, you're all wondering, you're all speculating, what is this? Some people have even gone as far as to call me unhinged. Unhinged. As if do I look like an unhinged person? No, I'm very much on the hinge. I am the door. Open me. Open the door. Because it's coming. It is coming. It's coming. Which, to be honest, is usually the thing that heralds the fun is over. But this time it means it's just beginning. It's just beginning. Okay, so. Okay, right. So we're gonna talk about Warhammer 10th edition. We're gonna talk about how it's coming out. Not coming out, but it's gonna be announced next week. Next weekend, okay? Because I want to draw everybody's attention to something that you might not have noticed. I'm gonna draw your attention to this, okay? So next Saturday, October 8th, it is what is it? It's Warhammer Day. Warhammer Day, okay? It's Warhammer Day. And Games Workshop, the Warhammer community, they posted something. Very, very, very sexy. Very sexy indeed. Let me pull it up now. Let me get it. Let me pull it up now. Okay, here it is. This is Warhammer. Let me zoom in. Let me get close. Let me get close. Let me touch it. Okay, right. So here we are. Okay, here we are. Right. So I gotta get my hat in frame. I gotta get my hat. That's why it's smushed. That's one's got a bit of a mushroom vibe. I'm kind of a fan of. Okay, so we're here. We're on Warhammer community page. They said, they tweeted this on September the 30th. They said, the Warhammer Day preview online is coming. Make sure you don't miss any of the big reveals. Okay? Big reveals. And what have they posted? They posted a picture. And they posted a link. Where's this gone to? Let's follow it. Let's follow it. Down the rabbit trail. Through the looking glass. Where are we going? 30th of September. Under the eye of most but I saw, Discourse saw it. Discourse never misses it. Hello, Campbell says howdy, hope you're well. Do I look well, Campbell? Do I look like a well person? So, celebrate Warhammer Day with a monster Warhammer 40k online preview. Monster, okay, right. So, here we are. Warhammer Day preview celebrating 35 years online. Saturday, 8th of October, that's next week. And they posted this. They posted this video, okay? And I wanna show you this video. We're gonna watch this video. Games Workshop will probably try to take down the video now as a result of me actually showing you this. Okay, but it's important. It's important that I show you this. And Games Workshop can try and take me down, but I look like someone who does not own a van and could go around with a pirate radio station distributing my knowledge anyway? It would be a fool's errand for Games Workshop to try and take me down. It's impossible. They can't put away Kids Charlemagne. Okay, so here we go. We've got this. All right, we're gonna lower it down a little bit. What's this? What's all this art? What's all this art from? Oh, that's interesting. What's all this art about? So there's like a commemorative miniature and stuff. They got like, people are painting. What's that? Oh, did you see that? Blink and you miss it. Blink and you miss it. What's this? What's this? Okay. Plus. Notice the word plus. Okay? That means it's additional. So, here we go. A special Warhammer 40k preview show. And you notice this? You see this here? What's this? What could this be? You might not recognize the earlier ones, but you'll recognize this one. That was the Indomitus box, wasn't it? And if you look at each picture, they are each pieces of art that reflect starter boxes for Warhammer 40k. Every single one of them. And it's the same here in this big, massive, splashy screen. It's the starter set arts. Right? We've got the 3rd edition starter set art here. You see it? It's the classic Black Templar. The Blanche Beauty right here. You got the classic Black Templar. This is it. You've got it. Okay? You've got the Dark Imperium box set. Look. Get the Dark Imperium. It's a little bit to the right. See? You see? You've got there it is there. And then it's over. There's a lot of art. I've been looking up art, okay? There you go. There it is here. You see it? Oh my god, it's coming. It's coming. There's a starter box coming. It's on the way. And what does a starter box herald? What does it mean? A starter box? Why would you do a starter box? Because there's a new edition coming. Because the new edition is coming. It's happening. It's 10th edition. It's the big day. It's coming. It's like Christmas. But before then, it's like capitalist Christmas for capitalism. Okay, woo. So here we go. We got them all. It's all the starter boxes. That's what's happening. There's a new starter box. You see Black Reach. Right? Like, let's line them up. Let's look. There's Assault on Black Reach right there. And then next up after that, you've got the other one. You've got the other one. And then you've got that one there. Dark Imperium. Yeah, Dark Imperium. And then you got Indomitus. You've got them all. And for those asking when's it happening, it's happening at these times. There is a link. I'll drop a link in the videos. Let me just do this. Let me drop a link here. Doop. Soup Cake says October is the 10th month. The 10th month. Come on, it's like Aztec Mayan calendars being put in place here. Like, how can we not agree to this? Oh my god, it's the 10th month. I didn't even see these connections. It's just more evidence being stacked upon more evidence. More, right? But this isn't all. I'm not done yet. You think that this is all the evidence? You're like, discourse, this is just mad, wild ravings of a lunatic. That's what you're saying. You're thinking it, at least, right? Okay, and all right, okay, fair enough. I don't blame you. But, I want to show you something else. I want to show you something else, okay? Here we go. That was not the only thing released on the 30th of September, ladies and gentlemen. There was another article quietly placed up on the Warhammer community website, okay? So, taking into account what we have just seen, all the art of all the starter boxes of ages past, now what are we going to see? What are we going to see next? It's another article from Warhammer community. Here it is. What is Warhammer 40k? An entire article basically created to introduce people to Warhammer 40k as an enterprise. The very basic foundational information about what Warhammer 40k is. Okay? Look at this. Look, it's Ultramarines. They're cracking up pictures of Ultramarines fighting Necrons. Okay? Heroes, villains, demigods, in the grim darkness far future, there's only what? They got the trailer. They got the Warhammer trailer. The keys, the Warhammer there. Literally, this is foundational stuff. This is like, who would need this information? Who would utilize the information presented in this article? It would be noobs. Noob people who are coming to Warhammer. And why would there be perhaps an influx of new people into Warhammer? Are they expecting this? And if they are expecting this, why? Why would there be more people? Because there's a new edition coming out. Oh no, my brain! My waves! Okay, right, hold on. The fortress is closed. The fortress is closed again. Because a new edition is coming out. There's a new edition of Warhammer 40k coming out. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. Look! Look, there's a man reading a book. Actually, he looks a lot like Guy there. But there's a man reading a book. Look, there's pictures of miniatures. It's coming. It's coming. There's, look at this. Look at this. What is Warhammer 40k? The foundational information. How to get into Warhammer 40k. How to get into it. This is all about trying to onboard new players. Because there's going to be an influx of them soon. An influx from the new edition of Warhammer. Yeah, how about that? How about that, huh? Now, I want to ask everybody, what year is it? What year is it? It's 2022. All right, it's 2022. What is next year, right? What is next year? 2023, okay? It's a big year. It's a very important year, right? So anything announced, say, next week, would be presumably for something in 2023, right? It's probably going to be for first quarter next year. And what is 2023? 2023 is 3 years after 2020. Okay? And what is 2020? 2020 is the year that Warhammer 9th edition came out. And Games Workshop have a 3-year cycle. They'll go through cycles. They're like wheels, like the Mans. They go through these calendar cycles. Every 3 years, a new edition of Warhammer comes out. So, what does this mean? It means that Warhammer 40k 10th edition is coming out next year, 2023, and they're going to announce the starter set for it next week. This is 10th edition, ladies and gentlemen. This is the proof. This is the sky has been written. The stars are shining down on us, and the aliens are laughing. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. There is no doubt in my mind, except for maybe a little teeny. There's no. We can't imagine any doubt. We gotta just forget about the doubt for a second. We gotta say nay to the naysayers. We gotta say yay to the yaysayers, and we gotta just put it away. The wheel is moving, says Resonix. Very true words. The wheel is indeed moving because we are on the wheel, ladies and gentlemen. Another turn comes. All right, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? What do you think of that? What do you think of this? We got articles that are for new players. We have starter sets being hinted at. And we have 2023 coming up, the most auspicious of years. What do you think? Now, I will admit, okay, if you were to twist my arm, maybe take me out of the bunker, bring me up into the sunlight, I'd obviously immediately combust. But I will admit that there is some I call them nitpicks. I call them nitpicks. So, for example, Warhammer 40k, new editions of it tend to come out in the summer. It's kind of a little bit of a... 9th edition came out in, I want to say July. I think it came out in July, so we didn't hear an announcement for 9th edition until May, I think, 2020. We didn't hear about it until May, and then it was up for pre-order in, like, June, and then it came out in July. So we're a little bit ahead, right? We're a little bit ahead. Obviously, as well, Imperial Guard needs to come out. That's likely coming out, like, next month. We're likely going to see some... Gotta keep the hat on. Gotta keep it on. We're gonna see, like, Imperial Guard next month. World Leaders as well is gonna be coming out in the next couple of months. So we're gonna see those. So, what does that mean? What does that mean for Warhammer then? What is next week? What's gonna be showing off in next week? So if it's not 10th edition, right? In this wild world where it's not 10th edition getting shown next year, what is it that Games Workshop are, what is they going to do? Like, what are these hints about? Why are they creating articles for, like, new players? Why are they showing off pictures of previous starter sets, like, specifically previous starter sets? Why are they doing that? Well, it could be, right? It could be that Games Workshop are doing a new edition of Warhammer, but it's not 10th edition. Okay? It could be that it's not 10th edition. It could be instead a stopgap edition, right? Like a starter box for 40k for Christmas, but it's not like 10th edition, it's like a 9.5 edition. So it's Warhammer 40k 9th edition, but with FAQs and stuff and rules updates inside it. Just in time for Christmas. Maybe with Votan in it. Or like Blood Angels or something. That could be it. It could be like a 9.5. What do you guys think about that? What do you think? A 9.5 edition, yeah. Oh, it's an NFT, says Rodeo Bloom. Ooh. Warhammer 40k lore is prophecy and we'll know it. Shut the front door, says Forsham. Always shut the doors. Don't let anybody in. Age of 40k says Tough Years. Age of 40k. We're going to see Warhammer 40k explode. Lauren Connor says, announce October, hear about it in November, rating mid to late December. Just a hair late for Christmas. I think, oh yeah. I think there's going to be definitely a starter box. I think there's definitely going to be like a starter set announced next week. But is it Warhammer 9.5 edition or is it Warhammer 10th edition? Warhammer Heresy 2nd edition, says Harold Breadstorm. That would be a surprise, I think, if a new Horse Heresy edition were announced. I would be surprised. That would be a very quick turnaround, I think, of a new edition. It's a very quick turnaround. So a repeat of 7th edition, says Gabriel Marquis. Could be. Games Workshop has screwed up before. And let's be honest, 9th edition isn't exactly it's not exactly the most well-loved edition of the game. It's the 35th anniversary this week. Could just be graphics fast, says Leonardo. No. Do not listen to the skeptics, okay? Don't listen to the skeptics. The skeptics are just trying to fill your mind with nonsense. No, everything has meaning. There's symbolism everywhere. The world is a series of star signs. It's 10th edition or 9.5. There's no other. That's the binary we operate within, okay? Everybody get your tinfoil hats. Press them firmer. Don't listen to what Leonardo has to say about it just being some simple graphics that they pulled at the very last second because some intern was run off his feet and was like, oh, I gotta pull together all these graphics. What's the highest resolution images we have? Oh, use the ones from the starter sets. Okay, awesome. Thanks very much. Oh, yeah, because it shows the continuity of the brand. No. Do not listen to that, okay? This is 100%. It's gonna be about a new edition. That's it. It's all gonna be a new edition, right? Hello, love your hat, says George. Thank you very much, says Discourse in response. Game Master Hobby says GW is releasing these old starter sets again with updated minis. Ooh, could we see that? I honestly, I doubt it. I don't think we'll ever see Black Reach again. I don't think we'll ever see it. To be honest, I don't know. I thought the Black Reach was awesome, but are we really gonna reopen up the Death Copter debate again? Because if we are, we're gonna have to get rid of the existing ones. for sure. I just want to wah, says Osrule. Wow, okay, that's intense. It's actually very intense. I like it. I like it though. I like the attitude. Tinfoil discourse is a babe, says Colin. Thank you very much. I've worked very hard on this look. This is me most of the time, honestly. Between you don't see this version of me very often. This is me behind. This is behind the scenes. Like that's not a green screen. It's not a green screen. It's just where I live. It's just where I'm from. 40k light edition, easier to play, says Eccentric Todd. Could it be like a one page of rules for Warhammer 40k? Could be a light edition. Warhammer for children. Or anybody who wants to get a game in within 2 hours. Could it be that? Could it be that game? So basically, adults and kids, and then we leave like the teenagers have energy and things. Let them live just kind of in the middle. They can play like the regular 9th edition. Ratmat Miniature says, more Primarchs returning, new models for the new character series. I can see, there's another Primarch coming, 100%. There's another one coming. I don't like this personally, but it's coming. It's happening. It is coming. This is a very innuendo-laden conversation we're having right now, but it's happening. It's happening. There is a lot of like. Basically, Games Workshop are taking the Warhammer franchise in a certain direction. That direction includes more kind of superhero characters, more kind of big personalities that they can base kind of fictions around and settings around and books around and things like that. And Primarchs are very marketable, and that's kind of what matters, right? They're big, massive faces that you can stick on the front of things and go, look at it's coming. You know, that's the kind of thing. Curtis Thompson says, digital. Everything goes digital for $25 a month. Wow, that would be very expensive. Everything goes digital. I tell you what, you check out my next video, Curtis. I talk about this. I talk about the rules. I talk about how rules are distributed in the context of the new Votann coming out. It's a very interesting conversation. I would recommend it. Eric Paul says, I would pay a sub for a free digital library. But how much would you pay, Eric? Right? What if you pay a tenner a month? Sounds pretty reasonable. In 12 months, you've spent more than you ever would have. In 12 months, you spent £120 on your rules. £120. So in 1 year, Games Workshop have more money from you than they would have before. So not a tenner then. You wouldn't accept a tenner. How about £8? 8 times 12. Well, it's like more still, right? Like this is the problem with the sort of idea of charging monthly for the rules. But I mean, I think you guys are hitting on something that's correct, right? So it could be that we're not going to see a new edition at all. Forget 9.5, which is basically like a refined version of 9th edition, or 10th edition, which could be something completely wild and wacky and out there, just completely like rejig of the entire system, which is kind of something that Warhammer needs, honestly. I don't think 9.5 is going to cut it. Maybe for like a couple of months, but not forever. Maybe what we're going to see is one Warhammer plus the edition, the game. Is that what we're going to see instead, right? Because here's the thing, right? One D&D has recently kind of been announced. It's very big. One D&D, for those who don't know, it's Dungeons and Dragons. It's the new edition of Dungeons and Dragons is coming out. Instead of calling it Dungeons and Dragons 6th edition, they're calling it Dungeons and Dragons 1 Dungeons and Dragons. And they're claiming falsely, I think, the continuity. Basically, that it's not any different from 5th edition. There's like some rules revision, but this is it. This is the final edition of Dungeons and Dragons. There's no more editions. They're getting rid of the edition system. Now it's a platform, and you buy into the platform, you get their rules, and this is just it. This is Dungeons and Dragons now. Forever. It's forever. There's never going to be another edition. And this is very trendy right now. The idea of getting people on platforms is very, very trendy. And one of these things, right, that people assume about companies is that they're run, well, competently, but also logically, okay? And let me tell you, companies are not run logically. The executives that run companies are flesh and blood, just as your eye. In many instances, they're very incompetent. They're not superheroes, right? Executives are just normal people. And they are as victim and as prey to things like FOMO and hype as anybody else. And this whole 1D&D thing has a ton of hype. And I think that it's possible that Games Workshop executives could very much fall victim to the idea of Warhammer as a service, Warhammer as a platform. For sure. For sure. It's trendy. And often that's all that it takes, something to be very trendy. Look at MMORPGs, right? You've got companies jumping on top of one another throughout the late 2000s and early 2010s in order to jump on top of the World of Warcraft bandwagon. World of Warcraft is making loads of money. But not one of them succeeded. Not a single one. But they kept doing it because they were not as sane as you and I. They could not see as logically. Shawas, thank you very much for the super chat. Says, in 10th edition, we will finally... Oh, this actually reads it for me. 1 second, hold on. Let's hear this. My headphones aren't working. Hold on. Oh, wait, no, I turned them off. Okay, hold on. We're gonna... Oh, it's gone now. Did it read a lot? I'm gonna need to read the question. I'm gonna need to read it anyway. Hold on. Okay. I need to. Can I? Does this help? Does this help my look? No, it doesn't. It doesn't help my look at all. Okay, hold on. Let's get this. So in 10th edition, we'll finally drop the need for the not useless codex system. We'll only have the current army rules announced through updates each week on Warhammer Plus, says Shawaz. That is a very sexy idea, but a very dangerous one as well. It's like fatal attraction. I kind of like it. Like, I'm sort of like, oh, okay, well, this kind of resolves a lot of problems. But on the other hand, I'm also like, oh, I'm going to pay like $10 a month for this thing. I'm going to end up paying like so much more money. Like, right now, okay, look, between you and me, right? Between you and me, like, what I could do right now is I could jump on Wikipedia, I get all the rules, right? And that's fine, but I like to buy the codices. I like to actually support the companies that I purchase from and things like that. Sometimes, depending on what the products are they're putting on. And I'm worried because I would definitely be up for an online repository of rules for Warhammer. I think it would be really useful. I think it would solve a lot of the problems, such as the Votan. The last Votan has just been mad. Oh, hold on. Let's see. It's not playing. Damn it. Okay. It comes up though, right? Can you guys hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear it? But yeah, so I think it would resolve a lot of the problems. I would be worried about the cost. I would want to see everything go online for free. Jigabachi, thank you very much for the donation. Says, just sacrificed a couple of goats, thrown some runes around, read some tea leaves, and I think you may be onto something. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have proof. We have evidence. If ever there was some. That is evidence enough for me. Thank you very much for the donation, Jigabachi. Okay, so you're not hearing anything. That's fine. We'll just I'll read it a lot. It gets it up on the screen though. Pulls it up for everybody. So yes. Could it be that we're going to see one Warhammer? And this is going to be like the end of new editions. This is really big for Dungeons & Dragons right now. Wizards of the Coast are like really throwing a lot of money behind this. And that's because it's going to make them tons of cash, right? One D&D represents a platform that is able to be monetized because they're also throwing on a digital component. Warhammer historically, Games Workshop historically have been very allergic to the idea of digital sort of rules, digital playing with their toys, shall we say. Like, trying to get Dawn of War made was like was a real exercise. So obviously their attitude has changed a lot. Curtis Thompson, thank you very much for the donation. Says, but Discourse, they'll send you a free mini every year for your $150 per year. Think of the savings. Now you'll never save up for your armies. Of course. Because what they will say is that $10 every single month can be budgeted for, as opposed to like $30 every couple of months. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of different ways that they could put this in, right? For, like you say, they could give you a free mini. And that would be a way to get a lot of good conversation happening, right? You look at Warhammer Plus and you go, my God, this service is not probably worth it, right? Like, it doesn't have a ton of, like, value. It doesn't really add a lot. The animation, there's very little content on Warhammer Plus. Okay, it's not worth it. It's not worth more than a month. But then they threw on top of that a miniature and suddenly have people in the comments section arguing, no, it's worth it because the miniature is worth like $50, and so therefore if I subscribe to this, I'm getting the dollar on top of that, and now it's worth it, right? But you probably would never have bought the model, right? You were probably never going to buy the miniature. Let's be real. And the miniature, firstly, probably isn't worth that much money anyway. But also, it's no reflection on Warhammer Plus. Like, you're trying to add all this value on. Oh, we could throw in a voucher. Like, okay. That still doesn't mean that Warhammer Plus as a central service, as a platform, is any good, right? It's just not very good at all. But So it's the same thing, right? If they have like Warhammer 1 or Warhammer 40k plus you get all the rules and like plus, right? It's Warhammer plus good. We're gonna call it Warhammer plus good, okay? And it's like $150, right? Per year, it's like 15 bucks, but you get all the rules. You get all the codices, and you get a miniature. And people are like, wow, that's incredible value. Each codex would be worth like $30, $50 before, $55 actually these days. Each codex would be worth $55. And I'm getting them all? Wow! And all I have to do is pay 15 bucks a month? Like, my brother, dude, you would have only been paying, like, $55 once a year. Now you're doubling that, like, 3 times than that, the $150, right? I can see these conversations happening already. This is the conversation that would occur in this context. Right? If there was like such a subscription service. I personally am a fan of free rules. I think that an online repository of free rules is the way to go. And I would be happy with it calling it 10th edition, because here's the difference between Games Workshop and Wizards of the Coast, okay? For Dungeons and Dragons versus Warhammer. With Dungeons and Dragons, historically, editions have been bad. New editions have not been good. Trying to transition people from like 3rd edition to 4th edition was weird, because 4th edition was actually a very different game from 3rd edition. There was a lot of different mechanical things, and then same again from 4th to 5th. It was very different. Each new edition of Dungeons and Dragons is very, very different. And in a sense, they're all different games, right? It's almost as if the new edition is done to provide like a clean break from the last one. That's not true for Warhammer 40k. Warhammer 40k traditionally is like they just do editions because, you know, it's time for the new edition. Okay, Warhammer hobbyists. Okay, Warhammer hobbyists. It's time for your new edition of Warhammer. Give me the money. Come on, pass the hat around. Give me the cash. Right? That's the classic. That's the classic Games Workshop thing. New editions make them money. They're very open about this. They say many times in their annual reports that go out to shareholders, they say, Warhammer 40k, traditionally, its best years are the ones for a new edition of 40k releases, right? They know they're going to make a ton of cash from a new edition. So that makes me think that they're not going to go to, like, the kind of platform idea like Wizards of the Coast are, because for Wizards of the Coast, a new edition is dangerous. It kind of splits the community, and there's, like, there gripes, and people get annoyed, and people move on. Like, Pathfinder, for example, became a game because it managed to do, it was called Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. It basically took Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition and did it better, so people moved to Pathfinder instead of Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition, because 4th edition was so different. With Warhammer 40k, everyone's going to play 10th. You're not going to lose anybody to one-page rules. Like, no more than you're already losing people to one-page rules today. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to move to 10th. And people are going to gladly move to 10th because 9th edition has not been great. And they're going to be like, oh God, please save us. Please save us. And they're going to turn to the one person that could, on the one hand, save them, but on the other hand, wields the whip that put them into this position in the first place. They're going to go to Games Workshop and say, please save us, Games Workshop. And Games Workshop's going to be like, okay, give me all your money. And then you're going to give them all your money. And then in a year's time, the same problems are going to be around because it's still the same guy. And it's just going to be like, oh, right. Oh, yeah, now I remember. I forgot how we got here in the first place. So that is the future. But we're straying off topic a little bit, I guess, right? Because as much as I think that I do think that Warhammer Plus is kind of like the soft launch of a potential future platform for Warhammer. Kind of. I don't think it's going to look the same way in like 4 years, because Warhammer Plus as a platform right now is very much feeling, I think, is a pretty reasonable thing to say. I'm not like taking glee in this. I'm just saying that as a service, it doesn't have a lot of subscribers. It doesn't have a lot of uptake. And if it did, we would know about it because Games Workshop would tell us about it. But they've actually stopped publishing the numbers, which is very revealing in and of itself, right? So I don't think, I think that Warhammer Plus could potentially be a service going down the line, could potentially be a platform that maybe contains all the rules and stuff like that. But as of right now, I don't see that. I think 10th edition is going to be a traditional Warhammer 40k edition, and I think the starter set is coming out next weekend. Okay, not coming out, being announced. Okay, right. Hat off for a second. Probably not going to be 10th edition. Probably going to be like a 9.5 edition, I think, is more likely. I think it's going to be a starter set for like 9th edition. Probably going to be some Space Marines or Votan or something against like, I don't know, like Nurgle or whatever. Like, who cares? And that's going to be it. But tinfoil hat on, 10th edition is coming. 10th edition is coming, ladies and gentlemen. And nothing can stop this train. Warhammer Plus has been very little value for what you're expected to put into it, says Uber Snug. I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I think, I think that it's got very, very little value. It's not... Look, whenever you're paying for, like, animations, you have to look at what else is in the market. Games Workshop don't own this market the way they own the miniature market. So they can't skid by on, like, oh, it's higher quality, you know. And plus, the animations in Warhammer Plus, having watched a lot of them now, for potentially what I would call a little hot little review, having watched a lot of them now, I would say a lot of the animations pretty poor quality. Oh my god, Fungazi says, Ultramarines versus Ultramarines. It's the one thing we've been missing. No other starter box has gone like this. No other starter box. This was, oh god, this is the Dark Eldar one. Yeah, 3rd edition. Dark Eldar versus Space Marines. Space Marines versus Nurgle. Space Marines versus Orcs. Space Marines Black Templar. Space Marine versus Orcs. Oh my god. Oh my god, you're right. The only thing they've never done is Space Marines versus Space Marines. Not Chaos. It is. I think you're right. I think you're right. I don't think there's any other explanation. That's the only, yeah, that's it. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be Blood Angels versus Ultramarines. How intense is that? ML says, Guard isn't out yet. I don't think they're doing 10th yet, but it is very soon. Okay, so here's the deal, right? So they've got 2 more codices to do. They have 2 more codices to do. They have Imperial Guard, and they have World Eaters. These are the 2 we know are coming out. And they're probably coming out, like, I think that next week we're actually going to see, like, an announcement date for them, or, like, informational. I think we're going to see new Guard stuff. We're going to see, like, the new models for Guard. We're going to see them kind of, like, actually laid out in front of a camera, and we're going to actually see them, and they're going to do, like, a little trailer, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, and Lady Creed is going to get out her cigar and stuff, and everyone's going to go, whoa, nice. Right? That's what's going to happen, right? And we're going to see that, and that's going to be, like, this next month. It's going to be November, I think. November, or, like, maybe even, like, late October. Like, Games Workshop have, like, a crazy turnaround time somewhere. So, Archimedes says 40k Skaven finally. Well, this is the thing, right, actually? This is the thing. Games Workshop, like almost every other corporation that exists, is basically run by Skaven, right? Like, just every single decision that they make, just imagine the Skaven are making it, and you will suddenly be like, oh my god, it all makes sense now. Everything is Skaven, right? It's all Skaven. They are all just running on these hamster wheels, just trying to keep it going before everything will just fall apart. And they're all trying to blame each other, right? So this is the thing, right? This is another thing about that Warhammer Plus platform, Warhammer Plus Good, is that with companies, nobody wants to make like a wild, crazy, innovative idea because they might get blamed if it all goes tits up, right? And so what often they do is this: they do what's trendy in the market and they follow what other companies are doing. I think this is actually a pretty good argument in favor that Warhammer will go down the road of the platform, right? Because it makes tons of money, potentially. It's nice guaranteed revenue, and other companies are doing it. And I actually think that 3rd one, other companies are doing it, is like enough. Because companies are very incestuous. Like they all talk and hang out and stuff. They really do. Like, I'm not, like, a lot of, like, major executives and stuff, you'll see, they all come from the same sorts of places and backgrounds. They all come from, like, accountancy firms. They all come from big telecommunications media and conglomerates and stuff. You look at, like, Warhammer 40k, look at games, just, I tell you, anybody here, if you really, really, really want to see why Warhammer looks the way it does, look up the backgrounds of every single executive on the board of directors for Games Workshop, and you will see they all come from like accountancy backgrounds and stuff. They're all trained in the same sort of skill sets. They're all trained, and it's all about just like they're not like very few of them are like hobbyists anymore. You know, at least I don't think that many of them are hobbyists. Now that's it. I have heard that Kevin Roundtree like occasionally plays the game, but maybe I don't know. Like that's kind of a very casual sort of. I don't. To be honest, like if I would want my CEO to be, if he was in charge of my game, to be like really like about that game, like really into it. I'd want him walking around dressed as a space marine and stuff. No, not a Space Marine. I'd want him walking around dressed as a Gene Stealer cult. That's the only way I'll ever accept Kevin Roundtree. If he comes to me bald head, goggles, as a Gene Stealer cultist, then I will know he's a true fan. That's the only way. That's the only way. That's the only way. But in any case, yeah, so we've got the Imperial Guard Codex coming out soon. There's going to be the World Eaters as well. That's going to be coming out soon. But after that, then what is there? Then what is there? Well, here's the thing, right? If it is 10th edition, well, it's 10th edition. There's like an Inquisitor's Codex or like an Agents of the Imperium kind of thing, like the Assassins. There's like a bunch of supplements, I guess, like Space Marine supplements that could come out, because a ton of them are still 8th edition if I remember correctly. So I guess we could see those. However, what I suspect is if it's not a 10th edition starter set next week, then it's probably going to be a 9.5 edition. And if it's a 9.5 edition, that actually tracks with what's left. Because what 9.5 starter set edition could come with is an update to some Space Marine stuff. And it could in fact be the groundwork for a new Space Marine Codex, a Space Marine 2.0 Codex. Because yes, Space Marine players, you have not paid enough. You have not yet paid enough to the Troll Toll. You've got to pay it to get into the Boys Hole. Okay, so that's you're gonna have to pay some more money, I'm afraid to say. So I think there's gonna be a Space Marine 2.0 Codex. It comes out in January, like, you know, early next year. The starter set will have Space Marines versus Space Marines in it, and it will be like, here's the updates to the Space Marines, and then for the rest of next year, it will be nothing but Space Marine supplements until May, when they will announce Warhammer Space Marine 10th edition. Sorry, Warhammer 40k 10th edition. I get confused sometimes. That's what's going to happen. And then it'll come out in July, right on schedule, 2023, 3 years after Warhammer 9th edition. 10th edition will be like, there'll be like some weird changes to it. Hopefully they get rid of stratagems. I have a bunch of thoughts on what 10th edition should look like, so if you're interested in that, let me know, because I could make a video on that very easily, and I think it would be a very, there's a lot of changes that need to happen to Warhammer to make it fun again, I think. Oswald says, what new orcs? We've had orcs in 2 starter sets made. You're being greedy. You're being greedy. We need Space Marines versus Space Marines. It's unfair to leave Space Marine players out in the dark and in the cold like this. Space Marine players have not had enough time in the sun. We need more Space Marines in our Space Marine game, okay? Yeah, so that, I mean, like, I know I could play Dark Heresy if I really wanted to play Space Marines versus Space Marines, but I don't want to. I want to play Space Marines versus Space Marines in 40k, and that's why I bought this. That's why, because I was like, you know what I don't have enough in my life of? Space Marines. Not enough Space Marines in my life. Not enough Space Marines, so I got more. I just ordered more Space Marines because I've decided I'm buying in now. I'm buying into the Space Marines. That's what's happened. You've come to me in a dank tunnel. I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, and I've got a box, a combat patrol of Black Templars. Oh yeah, that's what's happened. Hobby Cathartic says, James Workshop, she knows too much as soon as she walks by the window. Yeah, I mean, certainly, for sure. Chili Willy says 10th equal Ultramarines versus Horse Heresy versus Bloody Angels. It's Space Marine time, Warp 3 way you never wanted. I like it, Chili Willy. I like the way you think. I like the cut of your jib. You're hired. You're in now. You're in the product team. You are the head of the product team. I like this. This is wild, innovative thinking. We're throwing Space Marines on top of Space Marines. On top of Space Marines. I did not see this coming. Master Shriek 9000. I love that name. Says, Marshal Discord. Yes, indeed. Forget it's not Primarchs Captain. I am no mere Primarchs Captain. I am indeed a marshal. A marshal indeed. Like a sheriff, but kind of a little bit more religious, I guess, like with the Bible. SLDS says Blood Angels versus Orcs. Okay, so for real, I don't think it is going to be Space Marines versus Space Marines, which would be kind of incredible. Like Firstborn versus Primaris. What a box set that would be. Holy hell, I would actually buy that box set. I would find that incredible. I'd be like, oh my god, that would be some wild, feverish kind of basically Games Workshop saying, we've run out, we just want to get rid of all our Firstborn stock, so here you go, here's a box set with all the Firstborn in it. No, I think it will actually be I think it'll be Space Marines versus somebody. Like, somebody will be chosen. Maybe it'll be Eldar. That'd be kind of cool, because the Eldar got a bunch of new sculpts, so they could put in some of the new sculpts for the Eldar. The Eldar look pretty cool. But probably not. Like, I think it'll probably be, like, Space Marines versus, like, maybe Orcs? I don't know. Probably not Orcs, honestly. They've done... What did they do? Indomitus? Indomitus was who? Who was Indomitus? It was Necrons. And then Dark Imperium were Nurgle. So, it could be Orcs, actually. It's been a while since we've seen Orcs, so maybe it is Orcs. Damn, maybe Blood Angels versus Orcs. Have they done a chapter... So, outside of the 3rd edition, have they ever done a chapter of Space Marines that wasn't just Ultramarines in a while? Like, I haven't seen it in a while. Ultramarines has been every other one, right? Ultramarines has been every one. No, there's Blood Angels, I guess, in one of them. Space Marines versus World Eaters, says John. See, that would kind of fit with the codices. I do take your point. I think that would kind of fit with the codices, but I don't know. There's something about that, I think, that doesn't sit with me. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Fangazi says, I'm hoping Eldar, I need an excuse to buy Yavrian mini. Well, let me tell you, like, some of those Eldar miniatures are really beautiful. They look really, really good. They look really, really good. We're starting to be too reasonable here, though. We need to remember our origin story. Dark Angel says Space Wolves versus Thousand Suns, says Phil. That would be a deep cut, I think. That would be a deep cut for a starter box. Let me tell you though, guys, like, I am almost convinced that there will be a starter box announced next week. Like, for real. Like, hot off. Like, I think there will be a starter box next week. And it will be for 10th edition. 100%. It is October, says Juby Man. It fits. Games Workshop don't care about October or October. That is just us. We just love our orcs and we welcome them into our hearts. I don't think Games Workshop have ever done anything for October or October. Not enough minis have feet, says Fungazi. I agree. Too many rocks. Oh yeah. Second edition was Blood Angels versus Orcs, my favorite box. All you need in one box. I need like a box like that. All rules, all armies, index, all working. We're not gonna get that. We're gonna get like a 9.5 edition. We're gonna get like an FAQ, a bunch of FAQs and stuff. A bunch of FAQs. Tau versus Dark Eldar, says Bosk. I'm afraid to say that we are far beyond the days of anything other than Space Marines in a starter box. Unless it's Votann. I think that Votann could genuinely be the new Space Marines. It's just that, like, their launch has been absolutely so funny that I honestly, like, Votann are going to find it really hard to live this down. I genuinely have been having a lot of fun with the Votann release. It's made me kind of laugh. If it wasn't for all the consumers who kind of got screwed over a little bit and the weird bungled nature of it, it would be very cool. But it's not, and so it's not. Hey, yes, give me FAQ, says Shawaz. Yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. I think that's what we're gonna see. But I think we are gonna see a new starter box. It's too on the nose. It's too on the nose. Like, there's no way. There is no way that look at, I mean, these pictures were chosen, and they're all in order as well. Sure, it shows a little bit of a continuity, but still, I bet you. Tinfoil Hat, Primarchs versus AT Scale Knights versus and Titans, Lilliputian Codex. Yeah, right. But seriously though, I think that the rest of next year is going to genuinely be Space Marine supplements. I think it's going to be Space Marine supplements. We're going to see a Space Marine 2.0 in like December or January. And then we're gonna see nothing but like Space Marine supplements until May, and then we're gonna get a new Space Marine. Like, is there anything else? Is there anything else missing? Is there anything other than like Space Marine supplements that we are missing? Phobos Space Marines would suck, says the Orc Inquisitor. I'm not a big fan of the Phobos Space Marines myself either. Just not really a big fan of the sculpts. Rodeo Bob says, plan to finish my Cruel Boys along with 10 Middle Earth trolls this month. Oh my god! Speaking of trolls. Check out these bad boys. Look at these. It's how you know that I'm living the life. Look at this. War Trolls. Look at these guys. Like, check out this. How good is that? This is like I stepped into the 70s and I emerged with this box. I've got another one too. I've got not trolls, it's the Cimmerians. How about that? It's not badass. It's not totally bad. Look how cool that is. Could be a Space Crusade remake. I don't think so. I think that what we're gonna see is we're gonna see a new starter box for Warhammer 40k. We're gonna see a kill team box. We're gonna see Imperial Guard stuff. We're gonna see another like Warcry thing, and maybe a Middle Earth thing, but probably not, honestly. And we're gonna see like a new Warhammer like Space Marine thing. I don't know what Space Marine thing is. Probably gonna be exclusive sculpts inside the new starter box. I think it's happening. We are gonna see the new guard. Space Hulk says Orc Inquisitor. I don't think we're gonna see that. Fimble, 'tis the truth. 40k needs to go the way of Warhammer Armies Project. What do you mean? So what? Like community driven? Because it's never gonna be community driven. It's never gonna be. Warhammer 40k is a corporate product. It's never going to be community driven at all. I think I saw someone earlier mention that like they think that Warhammer 40k is going to go, the rules are going to be put into the hands of players and Games Workshop aren't going to work on them. That's insane to me. That is insane to me. Okay, to me. Okay, like I think that's wild. Like I think that's unhinged. That's what I'm telling you. That's unhinged. That's never going to be the case. Games Workshop are always going to maintain complete corporate control of the rule system because the rule system is so closely entwined with the actual models themselves. Do you ever notice the Games Workshop never produce miniatures for rules that they don't have created, right? They like the options and stuff like that and codices are all based on what's inside the skull, like what's are available inside the miniature boxes that you purchase, and that all goes down to like legal arguments that were made in like the Chapter House trial like 10 years ago, right? There's a lot that goes into this. Warhammer and miniature wargaming, how Games Workshop operate is like this entwined sort of like, I would call it like a chimera of pain, right? It's like there's all these little tendrils of like all these different animals all sleeping and getting into one another. It's like a Slaneshi orgy, right? It's like everything is everywhere. And it's hard to like delineate any one thing. Games Workshop are never going to like release the rules into the community. What if the community say something like, oh, well, Space Marine can have 10 plasma guns. So what, will Games Workshop just like release a box with 10 plasma guns inside the box? It's never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. And they won't do that because then, if say they only have one plasma gun inside the box, then third-party bit sellers can sell plasma guns. And that'll be money that Games Workshop could have made, but that's left on the table. So Games Workshop will never concede any amount of power to the community. Why would they? Why would they? They're fine churning out rule systems. Like Games Workshop, in a lot of ways, their games are, it's like a sausage factory, right? They just churn out more books every couple of months, and that's not a problem to them. Like, this isn't actually an issue. The Votann being super broken isn't actually a problem. The only problem with that is that people were kind of annoyed and it led to some bad press. And so I think part of the reason why Votann was so quickly seized upon by Games Workshop was because basically, Warhammer Day is coming up next week, and they did not want the new starter set for Warhammer 10/9.5 edition getting overshadowed by all this conversation about Votann. That's why they jumped on it so fast, because they don't want Warhammer Day to be overshadowed with bad conversations that they cannot control. Everything is a marketing grift, okay? It's all marketing. It's all the way down. All the way down. Fungazi says Space Marines can't take 10 plasma guns. They're the heck blasters. Very nice. George says they did. It's called a Hell Blaster Squad. Yeah, so, like, obviously, then they create, like, a new unit for it, right? Do you know what I mean? But remember the old tactical squads used to have, like, a ton of options. But now it's like if you've got, like, 2 units, then you can add in this one thing. And that's because that's the way you buy them in the boxes. Estelle says, adapted Arbites versus Gangers in a Fall of Necromunda box. That would be pretty cool. I will admit I would probably buy that. To be honest, like, in my opinion right now, I think that as a setting, I prefer the zoomed in style of Necromunda over just the weird space opera that 40k is at the minute. I prefer the zoomed in Necromunda style. In fact, I kind of don't like the narrative that's going on with Necromunda right now, where it's kind of like the joy I got from Necromunda was creating contexts for campaigns, for like narrative campaigns, and then playing in that. I'm not a big fan of like the moving on storyline, right? I just like it as a context, but there we are. It's like horses for courses, right? Some people like some things, I like other things. It's all good. Danny says, Games Workshop better watch out. Hasbro's reviving HeroScape, and they're going full steam ahead as if the game had never stopped being made. My God, Games Workshop best be shivering in their boots. HeroScape is a-coming. It's a-coming. Frozen Throg says, my store's 20 plus Votann boxes left. I'm actually surprised by that. So, I thought that Votann boxes weren't selling very well. I'd heard this, and then suddenly the conversation shifted, and they were selling really, really well. I don't know if it was because, I don't think that actually an army being super, super strong moves an incredible amount of boxes. I think it certainly helps to move a lot, but I don't think it's like the most indicative thing. I think the most important thing for an army to move is that people really like the sculpts. And I never heard much excitement about Votann. Like, I get that there's people who are excited by them. I know that there's like a lot of dwarf players out there who really identify with the models. That's all cool. I hadn't heard like a critical mass of excitement, you know? But I heard that they were moving really well, so I'm surprised to hear that 20 plus Votann boxes are left. I'm actually surprised. Fungazi says, this is making me wish Alex Jones just got into Warhammer, be ranting about the lack of space lizards. That there's probably a story there, to be perfectly fine. It kind of sucks that there's no Skaven in 40k. Skaven are like the best original faction that Warhammer, like Games Workshop ever made, right? Everything else is like lifted from other places, but Skaven, where I think Skaven might have been lifted from somewhere else, to be frank, but they felt very original, and I think that they could be put into 40k and be really interesting. The problem is that the Skaven faction in 40k is the Imperial Guard, like the army that like doesn't care about its frontline troops, that is willing to shoot into like their melee units, the one that uses hordes and hordes and hordes of poorly trained infantry and sends them forward in mass charges only to die and soften up the enemy for the elites to go at. Like this, that's just Imperial Guard. So the Skaven don't really occupy like a design place. Like they don't have like a sort of like an area to be in. There you are. Covely says, wait, what? 10th is here? 10th is a coming, boy. 10th is a coming, and I have spent the last like hour proving it. Proving it. Everyone's agreed. It's coming. It's coming now. We've all agreed, right? I mean, I wish I could get like a chalkboard and show you all the math, but like it's like 2023 minus 3 equal 2020 equal divide that by 2 equal 10 plus month equal October equals Warhammer 10th edition. Coming nigh. That was it. There's the math done for you. It's like some like Einstein stuff that's happening right now. It's pretty wild. War in Heaven box is 1988 shit. War in Heaven. That is like this is not like a very deep cut from like 40k. I haven't heard that term for a while. Dead Trencher says the return of Malak. Okay, right now we're getting into some like weird. I don't know what these are like these are things that I might have heard from friends and stuff like that who actually read all the Warhammer books. Escafee says all orc models should be characters, an actual horde army. I actually unironically think that about the Sigmarines. Stormcast Eternals, that's their name. Sigmarine, that's what I think of them as. The Stormcast Eternals. I actually think that they should all be like named characters because they're all meant to be like these heroes from legend and history and time and space, and they all come together, all being reforged on the anvil by Sigmar, big S-man, and I think that they should they should all be named characters. I think every single one of them should be named characters. I think it'd be kind of cool. The math works out, says Chili Willy. Legit. There you go. Fact checkers have come in. They have said it works out. Legit. Awesome. Thank you very much, Chili Willy, the fact checker. Thank you. Colin Max says Hasbro will not want GW to feel they own 10% of the shares through their pension scheme. No, of course they wouldn't. Nobody wants anybody to feel, honestly, not in the big tabletop game world. I mean, you gotta remember, it's like nobody has any loyalty to these companies either. Just want to get in, make some money, build up their portfolio, move on, right? Like that's all executives want to do. Like they don't actually have any loyalty, so no more than what they're legally obligated to have, so long as they don't screw up. Like who cares? Yellow Belly Tabletop says, totally agree, Skaven should be in 40k. The design direction could definitely be done well. It's not beyond that of man. Even men that work at GW. I guess Tyranids sit on a lot of the Horde design space too. Yeah, they do. It's kind of hard, right? Like, what do rat people bring to the table? Apart from obviously big hamster, like, well, rat wheels, big runny, really wheelie wheels. That I think were originally invented for humans for cranes, to like move cranes around, was originally for humans, and then we just put hamsters in them for some bizarre reason where like you would like to operate a logging flume crane, wouldn't you, hamster? Get in this wheel. Run for me, hamster. I don't know why that this was meant to be, but I guess it gives them a little bit of exercise, so it's pretty good. The Duke says Sigmar just making his own Space Marine army, but in real life. Yeah, no, well that's he was just like, because he knew, like, I mean, Sigmar's just like, yeah, I've heard of these Space Marine fellas, I'm gonna make my own. Thank you very much. I think it will help me market my game system very well. And it sort of did, although I hear that the High Elves are actually the Lumineth are much more popular in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. That's what I hear anyway. But yeah, so next week I think it's going to be big news next week. And I'm probably going to be streaming it too. I'm probably going to stream it as well. I'll get my hat ready and I'll be ready to stream it. I'll be very disappointed. I will be very shocked if it's not 10th edition or 9.5 starter set edition that's announced. If it isn't, I will be annoyed. I will be very annoyed, because we need. I mean, to be perfectly frank, the game has been out for like 2 years now, 2 and a bit years, almost 2.5 years or so, I would say. And we need like an FAQs, new updates, like inside, like in a book, because here's the thing: the vast majority of casual players don't pick up FAQs, and all FAQs are awkward. They're actually awkward to use. When you're using a physical book, it's much easier just to go by what's inside that physical book, right? Unless you're going to use like some sort of like online service like Wikipedia that is in a lot of ways better than using the official products, because Wikipedia keeps the book up to date. So it's kind of one of those things where on the one hand, it's very useful to release a book that has all the updated text. The problem is, right, so if they do like a 9.5 and they're just updating the book, in 6 months down the line, there's going to be a completely new edition of Warhammer that comes out, because it's coming July, right? If it does not come out this year, this new starter set is not it. Like, if it's not coming out first quarter next year, it's coming out guaranteed summer next year. And so if that's the case, it means you're going to get like, you're going to be buying a new rule. Jesus, maybe it is a 9.5, because then you buy a new rule book right now, they snatch some cash out of your hand, and then boom, 6 months down the line, they go, oh, want to buy another book? So maybe that's how they get you, right? Because they're already doing it to Space Marines. Why not do it to everybody? Because they're going to do a Space Marine codex. If 9.5 comes out and 9th edition is getting extended into July of next year, then they're going to do a Space Marine 2.0, right? They're going to do a Space Marine Codex 2.0, because Space Marine Codex right now kind of sucks. Space Marines aren't very fun, and most players are Space Marine players, and Games Workshop love to abuse their Space Marine players. They love to get more excuses for Space Marine players to give them money. So maybe that's what they're gonna do. So why not just treat everybody the same? Just release a new rulebook, because they did it with Lord of the Rings. They did it with the new Lord of the Rings starter set as like an updated version. But admittedly, that has been like years. That has been like years between them. Garcini says, I can see GW selling FAQs in a box set with a unique model. Starter set will come with a unique model. It'll be the only way to get that model. It'll be the only way to get that model, at least for like 4 or 5 months, 6 months, a year, right? I think, how long is it they're waiting? Is it 6 months? Because I saw that Warcry is now released. The new edition of Warcry has now come out. Is everyone excited? The new edition of Warcry is playable now. They're selling the book, finally, for free. Or not for free, separately. Huzzah! SGLDS says, like, sub to the 40k rules, get one free faction. Every other faction is additional $5 a month. My worst nightmare. Honestly, Estelle, that's my worst nightmare as well. And part of the reason why this is actually a huge nightmare scenario for me is because it will be applauded. There will be many members of the community that will accept this. They will be like, this is great. This is so good. I'm so happy about this. Now I can look at my phone and get my rules. The problem is that they're going to accept a very high price point, because we have so Games Workshop, the business side of this whole enterprise, this miniatures thing, they call miniature hobbyists sticky, right? And that doesn't mean that they've been interrupted during a good time. What that means is that they are very unlikely to move onto other products. They once they are in the hobby, they stick around for a long time, and they are very resilient to price increases. They will take it on the chin. They will go, oh, you've increased the prices to all my models? Okay. And that's most people, right? Yeah, there's a lot of like griping in the community, but a lot of the sort of like the hobbyists the Games Workshop like in the actual franchise are people who will pay them money. And so what this means is that the actual Warhammer community is self-selected for people who will be inured to price increases and to increases in the cost of playing the game. And so if we see something like, oh, by the way, it's like $5 a month to get this codex, $5 a month for any other codex on top of that, people will be like, cool. Because they'll justify it by saying like, oh, I can get like 5 codexes now for the price of 1, right? And people will be like, yeah, like you can't argue against that. But the problem with that is, sure, for like 1 month, not for like an entire year, right? When you buy a codex, You have a codex. You own the codex forever. Sure. And what Games Workshop do is they basically get you to come back to the well because they replace that codex, right? They get a new edition of Warhammer and they can do the cycle over again. It means you have to buy another codex. They can dip back into your wallet. With this, it's like they don't even need to make new editions. They can just, you have to pay them every month. You have to pay them every month in order to get your codex, right? Now, the upside to this is that they will be able to update the rules. That's actually a really good part. They'll be able to update the rules, be able to keep things relevant, be able to have a lot of fun that way. But it comes at the cost of so much more. And once again, creates a more exclusive hobby that keeps people out of the game because it raises the floor, it raises the barrier to entry for everybody. Suddenly now you've got to have a phone, you've got to be able to pay money monthly, you've got to have a credit card, you're going to have to like actually be able to like afford a lot of this stuff, right? The floor is already pretty high for Warhammer. But not necessarily, I will say not for wargaming. Like, this is that one thing that you need to tell people. Wargaming is not expensive, right? Like, wargaming isn't an expensive hobby. Warhammer is incredibly expensive. Warhammer is incredibly expensive. So, just to tell y'all, I bought this book. It was like £25, right? 25 pounds, what, like, well, these days, $25. But like 30 bucks or whatever, right? This is 5 parsecs from home, 3rd edition. Solo mini war game, okay? But you can play it with 2 players, 3 players, 4 players. It's a co-op game, sci-fi game. You're going out there into the big wide world. You're doing missions, doing things like that, right? What does this need to play? What do I need to play this game? Well, I need a box of miniatures like this for the Stargrave crew, Crew 2. It's all the female miniatures. You get 20 models in here. This comes with enough models for me to play this game, not only for my crew, but also for every single enemy that I will come across. No, they're not going to be the most varied, because they're all going to be sort of in this style, right? There's a lot of options and variety inside these sprues, but they're all going to be like that. But I happen to have a Warhammer collection. I can use some of my Dark Eldar and stuff like that for evil aliens, but, you know, it gets me by. It's still a pretty good-looking game, and I spent, what, £20 on the Stargrave? Well, actually, I got that Stargrave box sent out to me for free by Osprey Games. They were very kind enough to send that out for me. But that would cost me, like, RRP, that would cost me like £20. And so, for the price of, like, £45, I have my miniature collection. Now, I have to buy glue, I have to buy paint, I have to buy spray, things like that. But overall, that's putting me more at, like, the cost of what I would say is, like, a video game. Maybe an expensive, like, collector's edition of a video game, as opposed to a games console. In contrast, to get an actual army of Warhammer 40k, I'm spending, like, games console money, right? Like, just for an army. I'm spending, like, maybe even more. I'm spending, like, hundreds of dollars to get, like, 2,000 points. This is the difference. This is the scale, right? My problem is that most people come into wargaming through Warhammer, and so they think it's this huge floor. It's like, I will never be able to get in. I will never be able to play. There's other options. It's just like, people don't hear about those options because Games Workshop have a monopoly on the miniature wargaming hobby. They do. It's called a, oh god, it's not a black monopoly. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's basically an effective monopoly, right? It's not like they're running around putting other companies out of business by, like, smashing up their windows. But what they're doing is they dominate the marketing side of things. They dominate the high street. They dominate the retail space. The only ever wargame stuff you ever hear about is Warhammer. And for all intents and purposes, they are the wargame market. Which means they're not going anywhere, which is good for them. But it also means that, you know, right now, I'm wearing tinfoil telling you about the new 10th edition that is 100% coming out next week. Or being announced next week. There you go. Just zenfold them and play a film noir. That's actually a pretty good one. Like, I'm a big fan of the slap chop, the slap chop style. I like that. I like the slap chops. I like the slap chops. I know it's underpainting, but have a little bit of song in your soul. Have a little bit of fun in your step. Have a little bit of life in your body. 20 minis total on a table is not wargaming. You can play Warhammer 40k, 250 points limit, or 1 unit per side, says Grinaldi. Well, it is wargaming, to be frank. Like, it is. Like, skirmish gaming is still wargaming, in my opinion. We can disagree over that, but I mean, like, really, then, if you want to talk about that, I got 33 miniatures that cost me £8 in this. Now, admittedly, they're a smaller scale. They're a smaller scale. They're 172 scale. So they are. And they're really cool. But, you know, horses for courses, really, when it comes to that. So, yeah, like, miniature wargaming can be cheaper. I disagree. Like, skirmish wargaming is, in a lot of ways, is still wargaming. It is still wargaming. Obviously, the scale is smaller. But that's cool. There's, like, loads of innovations happening in wargaming these days. But that's, I guess my point is, more so, I don't care about the skill necessarily. More so is to say it's a complete experience. Like, you're gonna get everything you need to get from that game. You're gonna be able to experience all there is to experience in that game. Becoming a guy who says only rank and file skill is true wargaming, says the jerk. That's like you're like a caterpillar and you've stepped inside a little cocoon and you're emerging like a chrysalis, like a very, very, very dangerous butterfly. And you're like, time to spoil other people's fun. That's basically what happened to me. Battletech is wargaming. It takes about 8 minis on the table, says no Korean. Yeah, like these are all war games. These are all war games, right? Wargaming is pretty loose, like I will say. Like, in my opinion, this is not something I will argue very often. It's not something I like. But Dungeons and Dragons is a war game, right? Or at least it started as a war game. There's like skills though, like I get that. But skirmish wargaming is a genre. It's a genre of wargaming. War games aren't just like massive, like 3,000 models, Napoleonics on each side of the table. That's not the case. That's just a different scale. 1988 Chewit says, I played games with army men for years. Helps to drop the cost if you write your own rules too. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, well, that's kind of the danger of, like, wargaming, right? Like, because you can do that. You can write your own rules. You can build your own systems. It's harder to do that, like, video games. You have a little bit of, like, technical knowledge. With, like, war games, you can just, like, start writing away. There's nothing stopping you. Scython says, I want army wargaming too, but I would play skirmish if I knew players for that. Like, don't get me wrong. I like army skill wargaming. I do like it. I am a fan of it. There is a spectacle to army skill wargaming that you do not quite get with skirmish size wargaming. 100%. I do not disagree with that. I'm just saying that for someone who is like, I can't afford how to get into wargaming, telling them that skirmish wargaming is not wargaming isn't true, and I don't think that helps. Skirmish wargaming can just be as fun as army level wargaming. It's just a different scale of wargaming for sure. Now that said, I don't like the style where the kill team used to do this. It was 2018 kill team used to be like, oh, I've got a Space Marine, he's basically like a Space Marine squad. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like that kind of abstracted version. I like the models to be models. You know, I like the models to represent an individual. That's kind of what I like. I like my boys. I like to just hold my little boy and be like, okay, he's my little boy. He's going over here. I don't want him to be like an abstract. If I want to do that, I would chit wargame. I'd wargame with chits. I'd wargame with chits because chits are sort of tactile and fun. Battletech is next and counter game, not really a miniature war game, says the fucking CIA. I disagree. I think it's a miniature war game. If there's miniatures involved and there's a game going on, like, I don't know. Like, I think war game is a very loose term. I don't think it's like too prescriptive. There's not. I think it's kind of a nebulous term. Ultimately, we're being very pedantic here. We're arguing concepts. We're arguing language, right? This is all subject to change. These things that we're arguing about are ephemeral things. They aren't certified, fixed in stone. These definitions change over time. They change with our definitions. We look at these words and they kind of go around us, okay? Like, they're not like bricks. They're not like solids that we can grasp. If everyone says that, I don't know, this box of delicious nerds, you put them on the table and then suddenly you've got a war game. If everyone agrees that's the case, baby, you got yourself a nerd war game. That's going down. Like, that's all it takes. It just takes everybody to agree. That's all. There's no, like, central authority on war games telling everybody what war game is. That's it. It's done. Malakim Forrest says, Warhammer Fantasy was also smaller. Army size creep killed the game. I do agree with you. I think that increasing the size of the units required and then also dropping the amount of models you got on a box was a killer. That was a killer for that game. That actually, absolutely hurt that game. Hurt it in a big bad way. Girl Painting says Lego is a miniature war game. Let's not go too far. Let's not go crazy here now. I mean, chess is a miniature war game, says Sea Dog. Fine, Girl Painting. It could be a miniature war game you want it to be. Sea Dog says, I mean, even chess is a miniature war game. Yeah, sure, why not? Although chess to me is more like a board game. Very bad board game too. Oh, spicy Jake. Nerd does the body good, says Joey. I totally agree with you there. Steel Leah says, skirmish is just a descriptor for the subgenre of a wargame. Yeah, exactly. It's just a genre. It's just a genre of wargaming. Harold Barisov says, Iron Kingdoms, and starting promising, but failed. And I do not know why. I don't know Iron Kingdoms. I'm not aware of Iron Kingdoms. This is not something I have a ton of experience with. Hello there, Jacob. Hello. Yes, if you're here for the 10th edition chat, I've already proved that it's coming, and it's very, very spicy. There's very, very spicy information that has been released by Games Workshop, and it's in big, massive hints, and we can basically draw all this different string from all these different pictures on a massive board, and we can see that it all leads to one place. A new starter set. And where does this new starter set take us? To a new edition of Warhammer 40k. Be that 10th edition or 9.5 edition. It's a coming. Playmobil says girl painting. Yeah. Mr. Air Pumpkin says, raise your hands if you remember Brick Wars. I actually don't remember Brick Wars. Chess is a board game. It's way too abstract to be a war game. I probably agree with that, yeah. Plus, it's also a complete experience, like straight out of the box. Which I think makes it kind of like, I mean, this is all continuum, right? Like, even board games can be kind of like, there's war game board games. If you're like a board game enthusiast, there's like board games that you will say are a war game, like War of the Ring, or not Star Wars Rebellion, but like War of the Ring, for example, is like a really famous kind of like war game, or Ankh, right? Like these kind of games that are basically, or like Twilight Imperium, is that a war game? It's got miniatures, it's got big board. Like, is that a miniature war game? It's kind of, but not really, right? Like, these things are nebulous. You gotta just go with the flow, guys. You just gotta, like, sometimes you just gotta accept stuff and be like, okay, let's see what's going on, right? Let's see what's happening. Fungazi says, anyone else paint their chess miniatures? Chess is a Warhammer game after all. Okay, I'm a big fan of this now. So my Warhammer, I do red and green are my two colors. I've made a custom chess team. Basically, they're the green team. They have emerged from they're a different dimension. So they're basically the black chess pieces, but in a different dimension. They're all green in that other dimension. And it's because they lived under a green sun. And so they photosynthesize differently, is how it works. And so they've come through a portal. They're actually an interdimensional chess set, and they are seeking to destroy all other chess sets. And so in my fluff, like in my own kind of like internal, like my own kind of fan base, I believe that with the chess sets, when they win a game, they actually destroy the chessboard. So I like to take a hammer to the chessboard every single time I win a game. Is my thing. But yeah, like, I mean, I've collected like a bunch of different sets, but I do prefer my custom chess set. Eric says, Iron Kingdoms is War Machine RPG. Oh, okay. I haven't played any of the Privateer Press like RPGs. I haven't played any War Machine either. I've seen the gameplay and I've watched battle reports of the game, but I've never actually played it either. I always wanted to play it at like the very height of its moment, you know. I think we're like into the what would you call it? You know, that period of time in like history whenever everything's like now a desert and like the sun is kind of like lowly hanging in the sky and it's like a small wisp of what it used to be, and there's people like looking up at the sun going, oh god, it's all over, and there's like maybe like some wastelands around and stuff, like the Fallout times, you know, those times. I think that's where where War Machine sort of is at the minute. I don't think it's not the healthiest right now. The plants are they're struggling between the grains of sand. It's pretty tough. But I always wanted to play it back when it was verdant days, whenever the cities were wide and big and in bubbles, and the sky was clear and fun. I always wanted to play it back then, but I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it existed because over in the UK it wasn't as big as over in America, and I was like a Warhammer player, right? I was like one of those people who was like, tinfoil hat on. I gotta make sure it's on for this one. Warhammer's the only game that exists, right? That was me, right? I was someone who only ever played Warhammer. So I never got to play War Machine when it was big, and now I don't really have as much of an interest. My little nib has gotten smaller and smaller as time has gone on. I guess it's just, you know, I've told you all what I had to say, and so now it's kind of like just gotten a lot smaller and deflated, which, to be honest, isn't unusual in these sorts of situations. I think it is to be expected. I don't think you can hold it against me at all. Fungazi says, my chess army is based on the Custodes. It's just 5 queens. Yeah, I mean, I think that's OP, but for some reason, the designers just have not balanced it at all. Like, at all. George Atkins says, next week after, okay, well, we're not reading that in case the old YouTubes, I don't know what they go for, but they're very, very, very finicky. Very, very finicky indeed. Frozen Throg says, it was very expensive here in the Europes. Kevin says, you were the Warhammer hobby. We have all been there. Well, that's hopefully what I'm trying to do on this channel, is try to tell people that, you know, 10th edition's coming. But also, did you know there was a really fun Relic Blade Kickstarter recently? There's also Idols of Torment. Looks very interesting from Black Magic Craft as well. That looks like a pretty fun game. Very different. If you like the gothic horror of Warhammer 40k, you might be interested in Idols of Torment. It's a very explicitly horror miniature war game. Skirmish-sized. It's a skirmish-sized miniature war game where you gotta go by collecting souls and stuff. Looked really interesting. Blood and Plunder, for example, has a new edition coming out. It's got a new starter set. That's like legit. Like, I know there's a new starter set coming out for Blood and Plunder. It looks like a ton of fun. It's a very streamlined sort of pirate game. You get to play pirates. You get to fight the English. I mean, like, come on, you Yanks. You can't get enough of that. You can't get enough murdering the English, right? So there's like a ton of really fun games out there. And it's awesome. And I love that now you can kind of talk about this a lot more. Whenever I used to hobby a lot at my my local game workshop store, and you just couldn't really talk about games at all. But now, we're on the internet. They can't stop us now. Unless my internet goes down. My internet has been going down a lot lately. That is partly to do with the tinfoil hat, I think. Also, I've been on some weird forums as well. So maybe someone's on to me. Frozen Throg says, oh, and the new Infinity Box is pretty cool. Infinity Boxes are pretty cool. I'm not 100% sold on the value of the Infinity Boxes. I'm not like, I'm kind of a little bit like, like the models look great, but I'm sort of a little bit skeptical of the Infinity Boxes. I'm a little bit skeptical of them. 1988 Chewit says, all these chess jokes, does anyone remember Shrew from Alessio Cavatore? No, actually, I don't know that. Kevin B says, horror games, sign me up. Yeah, Kevin. Well, if you really like horror games, what I would recommend is Don't Look Back from Blackside Studios. Which is basically a game where one person is a killer. They are a murderer. They are a murderer, and the other, well, it's actually AI controlled. And then everybody, you play the survivors trying to survive. This is like a very classic sort of, like, it's like the last week of summer, you know, and like everyone's gone up to the camp. All the teenagers, and now there's like a masked killer running around. So that's like a ton of fun. That's a game I would actually recommend that game. I've played that game. It's a ton of fun. Tough Year says, don't mind me, just printing some Space Dwarfs off. I wonder if I can get myself banned from the local store with them. If it's a Games Workshop store, yes is the answer. Oh god, yeah. I have a project going on right now that I'm currently working towards. It's been a very expensive project. You might have seen something related to it earlier. And it is... basically, there are some custom models in it, and I'm almost 100% certain that I won't be able to play it at Games Workshop store. Although I've heard, because I haven't actually, since COVID, I haven't tried to, I've heard the Games Workshop apparently aren't letting you play in their stores anymore. And I was like, kind of like, that's kind of lame. Like, what's the point of having a Space Marine army if I can't show up to the local games store, Games Workshop store, and pwn all the news and just go seal clubbing, right? It's not what everybody's meant to do. I thought that's what everybody's meant to do. That's all the horror stories I hear. Oh, Discourse, I went and played Warhammer 40k for the first time, and some guy basically kicked the absolute shit out of me in the Games Workshop store. What do I do? And the answer is, I don't know. Don't play with people who are assholes, I guess. It's the kind of, it would be my advice. I play with a lot of friends, so I've cultivated a group. Unfortunately, my problem with that is, because I play with like a certain group of people, a lot of them can't afford to play Warhammer anymore. So increasingly they've kind of fallen out of the Warhammer 40k hobby. I know a lot of people who like 7th, 8th, 9th edition have just fallen out of Warhammer 40k. They used to play like in 4th, 5th, and 6th editions, and they've just over time fallen out because the prices have just gone up and their wages have not. So that's pretty rough. So is this true? Can I not? I mean, I could just ring them up, which is kind of my plan. Although I'm kind of low-key worried I'm banned from my local Games Workshop store. If any of them have watched my videos, I probably am. Maybe if I show up like this, they'll be forgiving. They'll be like, okay, best not talk to the weirdo. Would you throw me out? Come on, like I got a lot going on. I think I got a lot going on. Gladly sell my soul to chaos, says Wizard John. Well, I mean, there are incantations that one can learn. You just have to Google that online. Trist Time says, BIGW are selling way OP star players these days. Some of them are already banned in tournaments because of how OP they are. I'm guessing that this is about Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is really interesting. It's kind of like, there are factions explicitly in that game who aren't strong, which is a really interesting vibe to me. Like, I guess I never really thought about it because I always just accepted it, right? That the halfling army is just bad. Because, like, they've always just been bad, and that's just kind of like that's like their faction identity, is that they're bad. And that's kind of wild, you know? It's kind of fun. I kind of like that. But selling really strong, like, armies that are just stronger than everybody is, like, a different thing, I think. Because with the halflings one, you can go into it being like, I'm going to try and play as the underdog, basically being anybody else and being like, there's this army, there's this, like, team that just beat everybody they come across. It just isn't as fun. At least a very bad gameplay experiences. Chili Willy says, oh, you're for sure on a list. I am on some lists, but I don't know if it's on a Games Workshop list. Sifubin says, you've hit the nail on the head, though. If you can't play in store, why would you not just print? Yeah, exactly, right? Like, there is a local store to me called BattleLink, and they're like not affiliated with Games Workshop, so you can just play with printed models there, right? Support your local independent game stores, people, because it's really important. And also it creates spaces for you to play, and also you can play with printed models. And I think that is incredibly important. That's actually really important for the health of the miniature wargame hobby, for sure. I'd sell the bottom of my last shoe, says Sarvados. Ooh, Snotlings we think are going to be in the new box. Snotlings. My God, incredible. Shall we go wild? Shall we try and speculate? Shall we try and speculate based on pictures? Shall we just go a bit mad? Let's see this. Okay, so we've come to this. What is Warhammer 40k box article, right? We're gonna try and work out what's gonna be in the box. What's going to be in the new starter set box based on the pictures in here, based on our wild, maddening speculation. So we have, for more than 100 centuries, the Emperor sat immobile on the gold throne. Okay, no one cares anymore, right? The Emperor is old news. It's Guilliman, baby. There should be a big picture of Guilliman's face right here. Should be like, hello, I'm Guilliman. I'm in charge now. Nobody cares about you anymore. Nobody cares about you, Emperor. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Emperor. Okay, here we go. Here's the sex. We got ourselves some Ultramarines, baby. I think it's... So, some people are saying the Blood Angels are Dark Angels in the new box. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Ultramarines again, to be perfectly frank. Now, I will say, what do we need? What supplements? What codex supplements? What 40k Space Marine codex supplements are we gonna need? Do we still need, right? Because I'm aware of the Black Templars, but that's mostly because of the god-awful Black Templar army box that released with 13 miniatures inside it, and forever tickles my funny bones, because I just find that absolutely embarrassing. So what supplements, what Space Marines are we missing? Because there's a bunch from 8th edition, right? And we could see those getting updated in like over from January through to June of next year. You really want new Dark Angel releases, says Danny Goodnight. New Dark Angel releases. Wasn't there some... I mean, there's a Dark Angel Combat Patrol. How old is that? So, I mean, I could still see it being Ultramarines, but I've heard speculation that it's Blood Angels. I think Valrak ran a video about it being Blood Angels. I think Eons of Battle did as well. But the thing about that is that I'm pretty sure that speculation was based on nothing at all. Like, literally, like, they should have been wearing these hats, right? This hat, like I'm wearing right now, with this one, and done their thumbnail, them dressed as a clown so that nobody gets the wrong idea. I think that would have maybe, because the Blood Angel speculation was based on some toys that came out. And those toys were basically just models that had already come before, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so. Crimson Fist, says Waffle the Man. We're never going to see Crimson. No one cares about Crimson Fist, Waffle, I'm sorry to say. Crimson Fists are like what? They're like, are they yellow? They're yellow with red hands. Red Hand of Ulster. It's too political. It can't be done. Black Templars, because we all got shafted, says Trist Time. Black Templars are done. They're over. No, they're finished. They have a codex. They've got a supplement for 9th edition. I don't think we're going to see them again. Soul Drinker, says Girl Painting. That's a deep cut though. I don't think we're gonna see like any of the deep cuts. We're not gonna see any of the cool Space Marine chapters. We're definitely not gonna see my custom chapter, my army of civil servants. It's gonna be awesome. You guys are gonna have to wait and see. David says 40k is where you start wargaming, but at some point you need to move on. Well, maybe not. I play out of Frankie GW games. This is easier, no new rule sets, and I can print what I need, says David. I think most people either move on or just leave the hobby entirely because basically like Warhammer 40k is a game, is a franchise that's designed around attrition, right? You keep on, the prices keep going up, the deals keep getting worse, and then eventually you drop out. Like that's kind of it. And they sort of plan for that because it's like that little image, you know, the guy evolving, right? It's like a monkey, and then, or it's like it's an ape, whatever, guys. Okay, so it's like a monkey, and then it's like not a man, kind of like a bit of it, and then a man, right? That's a Warhammer hobbyist, right? Right? You start off, you're into Warhammer, you're like a little monkey, right? You're like, woo! You're just like loving it. You're like in the forest. You're like, oh my god, I love Space Marines. You're like throwing poop at each other. Like that's basically how I imagine Space Marine players, right? And you're probably 12, right? So you're that person, and then you kind of do that for a couple of years. You get like you pick up a rock, you learn how to hit people with the rock or whatever, and then after that you kind of drop out of the hobby. Most people drop out of the hobby in like their early 20s. They just get out of it, right? And that's when they're like, becoming like a normal human being. So they do that, and then your 30s hit. Suddenly you're kind of financially secure in theory. I say this as someone who kind of had to look at their finances before investing in some tinfoil, right? So you kind of have to look at your finances, and then you're like, ooh, I could get into the Warhammer 40k. I remember this is nostalgia. I love Warhammer 40k. And then you go back, right, as an adult. Now you've got more disposable income. You're like the man with the briefcase. You open the briefcase, and there's poop inside, because you're like still a monkey at heart, right? Everybody's still a monkey. And so you buy your Space Marines again, you're like, yes, and you go back to it, right? That's like the Warhammer kind of lifespan. And then eventually you get old, and you become like a brain in a jar, because I think that's like our final form is like a brain in a jar, right? Like we're off the Pluto or whatever, like in Whisper in the Darkness. That's us. We're away to see stars and sights unseen. So that's where you go to, and then it's all over. Then the hobby's done. Games Workshop don't care anymore, right? Because you're dead and buried, and the Games Workshop move on. That's basically it, right? So they sort of assume that there's going to be a big attrition. The moment that your parents stop buying you toys, then you can buy yourself some toys, and then maybe there's like, or maybe not even your 30s, maybe even your 40s as well, right? Basically, there's like a period of time in your life where Games Workshop are not interested in you at all. It's when you're younger, and it's when you're kind of older. Alan says, I've never been wealthier than when I was in my 20s. Well, that might be kind of the case now. I think traditionally speaking, though, it's that you were too busy as well. It's not even like about money. It's that you kind of had other stuff to do. Usually it's when, see, this is very like a UK-centric view that I have here. I think it's kind of old as well. I don't think it's like necessarily true anymore. This is kind of like the traditional perspective. I think that a lot of people in like their 30s and 40s might identify with this, right? Like in their teens, they were really into Warhammer, and then at 18 and kind of a little bit older, they learn what drink and alcohol is. They get involved in all sorts of ne'er-do-well business, and they have a lot of fun. Maybe they go into higher education, or they get a job, and they basically have other stuff. They've got other fish to fry, and then in their 30s, they're like, nostalgia. I love me some Warhammer. Games Workshop have kind of always operated under this assumption that there's this kind of attrition. And they know that like a lot of people won't make that return. Now, COVID was crazy because it exposed the idea that loads and loads of people would come back to Warhammer. And they did. Like, loads of people came back during COVID because they had time again. They were like, oh my God, I've got so much time. I got nothing to do. I can't go out the pubs. I don't have to look after kids. I don't have to go to my job. Well, you do, but like, I mean, you're working from home. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you can keep as busy as you want to keep. And so they all got into Warhammer again, which to me revealed that actually there's a massive player base out there for like Warhammer for wargaming that is not tapped, right? Because what happened is Games Workshop, when this occurred, immediately raised the price, and it totally put loads of people off. Totally raised the price. And then everybody had to go back. Everybody had to go back to the real world. So what I'm saying is, instead, what Games Workshop should be doing right now, right, is Games Workshop are the biggest pillar in the economy of the UK. Probably. They're bigger than the fishing industry. They are huge. They are much bigger than the fishing industry. And all they need to do is go to the government and say, make working from home a thing. And then everybody can go back and play Warhammer and Games Workshop will make loads of money. Why isn't this happening? Where is Kevin Roundtree and why is he not doing his due diligence for his shareholders? Come on, people. So, Bloody Angels or Dark Ages? What do we think? Yes, Discourse Miniatures, you are old. We get it, says Tress. Oh, come on, I'm not that old. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay. Frozen Throg says, then you end up playing historical games, like all old people. Yeah, exactly. Like, Games Workshop understand that, like, as you get older, you're more likely, like, as you get older, the percentage chance that you're going to get into historicals kind of rises exponentially until eventually you get got. Like, even I got got. I couldn't not get got, basically, after a certain period of time. Okay, so I'm gonna say Bloody Angels just because it's kind of hot and trendy right now, though I do think that it could just be Ultramarines again, because I think we could see a new Ultramarines supplement. Did Ultramarines get a supplement? Did Ultramarines get a 9th edition supplement? Did they? I can't remember. Oh, the age-old question. Here we go. The age-old question. Will there be an update for 9th edition, or shall I buy the old one? That is a classic question. No matter what you answer, you'll be wrong, because they'll get you. Like, I could see a new Ultramarine, so there hasn't been supplement since 1. So I could see a new supplement for Ultramarines coming out. I honestly could see a new supplement for Ultramarines coming out, for sure. Okay. So, here we go. So, I think new Ultramarine supplement or Blood Angels. Blood Ravens, says Neil. I don't think we're ever going to see Blood Ravens. Not unless there's like a Dawn of War 4 coming out or something. Then they might do like a fun sort of multiverse thing. Ooh. Okay, and then, wait, where the hell are we? Okay, we're going to look at pictures now. We're going to try and work out. So, AdMac are getting a pretty big full front and center. Like, if you imagine this, right? Imagine this as, like, you're a newbie hobbyist. You're like, hello, I'm into Games Workshop stuff. Hello, hi, I'm a new hobbyist. That's me, okay? Like, I'm the new hobbyist. Right, here we are, right? This is the new hobbyist, right? Here he is, right? There he's got his little paintbrush. He's got his little paintbrush in his pocket. He's, like, totally up for it, right? He's like, okay, what do you like, new hobby? What are you a fan of? Okay, what are you a fan of? So he's like, oh, look at that. It's like a skeleton in a chair. It's like, yep, it's spooky as hell. He's like, oh, Space Marines. And we know they're going to be in. These guys are going to be inside the box, right? These guys are being in the box. This guy loves it, right? Because he's blue, right? He loves it. He's like, oh, blue stuff. Smurfs, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the Smurfs. Then we go down, we see like another Space Marine, yada yada yada, right? Okay, cool. And then we see like some Tyranids and stuff. I guess we see like the backs of Necrons. That was kind of the 9th edition thing. Necrons getting smashed. We see sort of some Tyranids and some Sisters of Battle. We're like, okay, we can't really quite make out what's going on there. We see some more Space Marines. Then AdMech, we get like a big picture of AdMech, which is really interesting actually. What a random army to show off. Because AdMech to me is like a very... I was gonna say, honestly, AdMech to me are like a very experty kind of sized one, to be honest. Scython, thank you very much for the donation, says, Ultramarines didn't get a 9th edition supplement. Also, I still want the new edition to be a Grand Theft Relics edition with Blood Ravens on the box. Whoop whoop! Okay, I could accept that. I could accept that. Blood Ravens would be kind of cool. I would just want them to have some rhinos, honestly, for the metal boxes feel, right? There has to be that, right? But I would accept them, but I just don't think it'll ever happen without 4th edition. Like, without 4th, Jesus. Good God. Warhammer is infecting my brain. Without there ever being like a sort of like new Dawn of War, I don't think there'll be a new Dawn of War. Harold Bredstorff says, who will be the next Primarch to return? That will be the next Space Marine. Vulcan? No, you're not gonna see Vulcan. Salamanders honestly don't occupy an interesting design niche because what they do is kind of done by the Black Templar and by the Sisters of Battle already. Really. What you see is what you get is a like basically like the Salamanders thing is like fire, right? Like they like fire, and fire is done already by Sisters of Battle, and Black Templars thing is all like they got the pyroblasters and stuff. So really, I like the Salamanders, but I also don't like them because I really heavily suspect that they don't like they just don't occupy like a niche. I just don't get it. Like they're the nice Space Marines, but FPT says Admech versus Votan. That would be a god-awful box. I would basically create a character in Minecraft to throw him off the top of a tower. I'm not a big fan of that. So, look, okay, right, here's the thing, right? Here's what I like about the starter boxes. I like it when the armies are kind of different. They kind of exemplify different play styles. I kind of like that. I like that style, right? You got your Space Marines, you got your Grots, right? You got your Orcs. I think Space Marines versus Orcs is a really good box set because Orcs are a horde army, and they kind of they've got a melee play style versus their opponent, the Space Marines. And let's be real, it's always going to be these guys, right? It's always going to be these guys. They're always going to be the guys that show up in your starter box. And what happens is, Space Marines are like an elite army that are tactically viable. They're kind of good at shooting. They're kind of good at melee. And I think they work well going up against a big horde army that is really good at melee. I think that's like a nice, interesting gameplay style. If you do an Admech versus Votan, it's going to be like survival of the shootiest. Who can shoot the other person better? Right? And every single game is going to be like the finals of that Warhammer tournament I remember from all that time ago, where it was Admech versus Admech, and the first person to go shot the other person off the side of the table, and they won, right? That's not an interesting game. So I don't think that we will see Votan versus Admech. I just don't think that would create a very dynamic starter set. So I hope not. So I don't know if we're going to see Admech, but it's very curious that Admech are so front and center right now. Like, that's kind of curious to me. Imperial Guard versus Orc okay. Says Jason Hartley. Imperial Guard versus Orc would be kind of interesting. That would be very interesting. And I would selfishly love that to be the starter set. I would love Imperial Guard versus Orc to be the starter set, because I love Imperial Guard, and I kind of like Orcs too. So this would be like a 6 starter. That would actually be a starter set that I would buy into. And Imperial Guard have loads of new models coming out, right? Because there's the new codex coming out. It's really good timing. But here's the thing. Do not underestimate Games Workshop's desire to put Space Marines in everything. Okay? If they will put Space Marines inside the starter box. So you've already got an Imperial faction kind of represented, which means that we kind of have to go for like a Xenos or Chaos, I think. Honestly, I think it could be World Eaters. Like, I will say, it could be World Eaters. It would be sort of auspicious, right? I think it would be likely to be World Eaters. But I think that Orcs would be a good starter box. Neds versus Leagues of Votan, says Waffle Man. I love that idea. I do like that idea. As much as I'm on record of not really being the biggest fan of Leagues of Votan design-wise, I think that, like, that has there's a lot of story in the idea of, like, Leagues of Votan going up against the Tyranids. I think that would be a cool box. The problem is that the Tyranids have, like, very, very old sculpts. The Termagants, the Homagants, all that sort of stuff, they're very old sculpts. They do not look... They look fine, in my opinion, but they don't look kind of Games Workshop 2022. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they would be reluctant to use such kind of old sculpts inside a starter box. I think they would want to use something like, maybe some, like, new World Eater models, the new Chaos Legionnaire models. Adam says, Imperial Guard never got a book, so Imperial Guard versus Orc would be cool. That would be really cool. That Imperial Guard versus Orc was the first game I ever played. I played Imperial Guard. The person I got into Warhammer 40k with, all back in those halcyon days of 2004, they were an Orc player. They played Orcs, and I played Imperial Guard, and they had a competent Orc army, and I did not have a competent Imperial Guard army. I had nothing but foot, infantry, and I had weapons teams. And I played that for a couple of years, getting my ass handed to me every single game I played. And then I switched to a meta build of Chimera vets with plasma guns and melta guns inside Chimeras, driving around you, shooting away. I did not enjoy that as much, though. Because I love foot slogging armies. I love my troops. Minis by Mayor says a 10th edition release when not all codexes are out. Well, think about it this way. So, we're going to have the Imperial Guard Codex, like, next month. We're going to have the World Eater Codex, like, very shortly after that, or before that. And then you've got, like, a release in first quarter 2023 for Warhammer 8th edition. Huh? Now, on the other hand, a 9.5 edition could be really interesting. And the reason why this could be a 9.5 rather than a 10th edition, right? Remember earlier we were talking about this. One of the things about Warhammer 9th edition is that it's very weird. it's kind of odd. The timeline on it's been screwed up by COVID. Do you remember? There was a time when all their production was effed up, absolutely screwed. And this is kind of messed around the timeline of 9th edition. Things were pushed back. We had months where the Genestealer Cults Codex and the Custodes Codex both came out at the same time. This could have led to big changes just over time that have kind of created this need to bridge out like 6 months with a 9.5 Codex and a shit ton of Space Marine supplements. A ton of them. This could be the beginning. A starter set next week could be the beginning. Tristan says, same here, first game to learn was Guard against Horse. Yeah, it's a really cool, iconic piece. There we go, it's done. It's over. It's Necrons versus Eldar. We've seen it. Done. There's your starter set, Eldar versus Necrons. Doesn't make any sense. There's no real thematic reason for it. There's no new models coming out. There's a picture. So maybe that's it. Probably not, though. Probably not. There's Orcs versus Tyranids, which is an interesting one. I know there's like an entire sector of 40k space dedicated to Orcs fighting Tyranids, but you never really see too much of it, honestly. You never really see too much of it. So here we go. Pick up a magazine. Getting started Warhammer 40k. The perfect introduction to the Warhammer 40k starter hobby. There we go. The Warhammer 40k hobby. Oh, the Warhammer 40k hobby, huh? Well, I think, honestly, I think it's going to be Space Marines versus something. I could see it Space Marines versus Chaos again, but it would be World Eaters this time. I see World Eaters. Because Indomitus was Necrons, so Chaos would be different, right? And the thing about Chaos is that they are very much the big bad of this set, of this edition. In the past, Chaos have kind of been like, oh, twirl the mustache, we're gonna get ya, but they never really could do much. In this edition, Chaos is like risen, they're ascendant, they've taken over half the galaxy. I think a World Eaters fight, maybe if you set it on that little, what do you call it, the little tunnel between Imperium Nihilus and then the Imperium Primus, Imperium proper, I can't remember what it's named. You get that little tunnel, you set it on a planet there, you go, here's the starter set, Warhammer 40k 9.5 edition, and we've done the FAQ, we've done the errata, we've added it all in. Here's some special Space Marine rules. Here is some like special World Leaders rules. You get a little textbook that has some narrative battles in it. Boom, boom, boom. You got yourself a new starter set for Warhammer 40k. It's 9.5. Then that sees us in to a whole rate of different supplement releases. Everybody's hyped about the Dark Angel. Everybody's hyped about Ultramarines. Everybody's hyped about Blood Angels. Boom, 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 boom. And just as you have eked all of the money out of all the Space Marine players, bada bing, bada boom, it is now May, and you can do what? You can announce 10th edition coming out in July, do pre-orders in June, 10th edition in July, and we start this whole merry-go-round all over again. Baby, it is coming. Plus, with the new, with a Space Marine 2.0 Codex, you can add in all those Horus Heresy, like the Kratos tanks. You can add in all these new data sheets, because obviously what the Space Marine Codex needed was new data sheets. Here's the deal. 10th edition, are we going to see the end of Firstborn? Is it over? Is the dream dead? Are they all going to go to Legends? Is Firstborn going to go to Legends? Honestly, at this stage, I'm starting to think like it might be healthier for Space Marines. They need to do something about that codex. Where is that codex? I don't have it on me. I was doing some light reading. The other night, so it's not here. It's like in my bed, basically. The Space Marine Codex. Basically, I like to do weights before I fall asleep. So it's like a very thick boy. Okay, it's a very thick tome. Are we gonna see that split up, cut in half? Firstborn in a Codex, Primarchs in a Codex. Honestly, I could see them just getting rid of Firstborn before they do that. To be perfectly frank. Estelle says, how about this? Different starter boxes for different faction matchups, each with a timed exclusive model. Gotta collect them all. Honestly, so in theory, I actually don't mind that idea. I hate the exclusives part. I don't mind the idea of doing like a couple of different bundles of like this guy versus this guy and this guy versus this guy. I think that would be kind of fun, so long as the price is right, so long as the value is there. Obviously, it's Game Workshop. The value is going to be pretty like, oh, you're going to have to like really, really kind of be like, I was gonna buy all this stuff anyway. I mean, you weren't gonna buy all this stuff. It's two separate armies, but I was gonna buy it, right? It's an excuse to buy something. But sure, okay, whatever. But I think that if you could save enough money by buying it, sure, I think it could be fun. I don't think though that, and obviously Games Workshop would put exclusives in every single box. I mean, let's not be jesters here. Like that's going to happen. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the idea of it, but it's going to happen. They're definitely 100% going to put exclusives in there. But, oh no, my child-sized Coke Zero is done. But I don't think they'll ever do that. I think that they will always focus it on the one box and then kind of do what they've done. Like, because these starter boxes are often done as a massive marketing hype. They want everybody to buy the one product. Because most of the time, those models, when it's a new edition, it's really, like, it is a launch box. And they are designed to get people really excited about new sculpts. That's why they often throw, like, new Space Marine stuff in there. Lucas says, wait, what is 10th coming out? 10th edition is coming. We did the math. We have looked at the stars. We have rolled the bones. We know it's coming. We know what's happening. Yarlith Awith says, Hopium Slan returning in 10th edition. There is a massive tanker full of Hopium, and you are huffing straight from that. Straight from that. I don't think we're ever going to see Slan. David Bull says, Firstborn need to be removed, though. Honestly, 10th edition is a good auspicious number to begin kind of rounding out the edges of a lot of the messiness of Warhammer, honestly. I think it's a good opportunity to kind of start to... Like, with 10th edition, you could fix a lot of stuff, right? It's a big number, 10th. It's a big addition to do stuff in. I know that sounds like the most asinine thing ever, but it is true. Like, if it's 10th edition, I think that's probably a good time to, like, do a refresh, like, completely. The way 8th edition was. The way they brought, like, a bunch of indexes and stuff like that. So, I think do a bunch of supplements for 9th edition, then come up with 10th, bada bing, bada boom, do a big index. I have a lot of asks for 10th edition. I think I'm going to put it in a video. Fungazi says, wait. Coke Zero, the real discourse, we drinking cream soda. WTF is going on here? Not only that, I'm drinking Coke Zero and fucking water. Flavored water, but water. It's actually really nice. Classic spring. It's blackcurrant flavored water. It's like, I didn't know you could get flavor in your water. It's absolutely incredible. I love it. Waffle the Man says, my money is on either Dark Angels or Raven Guard. Both have the opportunity to put up a new Primarch out. I do agree with you. I think we're going to see a new Primarch. What do we got? What do we reckon for the new Primarch? Dorn gets talked around a lot, but, like, let's be honest. The only people who actually like the Imperial Fists are Valrak. Is there anybody else in the world who actually likes painting the color yellow? I don't think so. Rugel Dorn would be kind of lame, honestly. I think the really bad thing about the Rugel Dorn is that it would sort of solve a lot of the problems between the Black Templar and Rubik Guilliman, right? Because Rugel Dorn is the the Black Templar are derived from the Imperial Fists, right? And then Rugel Dorn is the Primarch of the Imperial Fists. So the Black Templars, like, Dorn would come back, and the Black Templar would be like, woo, yeah, this guy's awesome. And then he would get on really well with Rubik Guilliman, and then, yeah, that would kind of suck. That would kind of, I kind of like the idea that the Black Templar are kind of antagonistic towards the Ultramarines. I'm a big fan of that. People want the Lion. So Dark Angels, then, they want the Lionel Johnson. Maybe. Like, it's hard for me to be enthusiastic about this. I kind of detest the idea of another Primarch. I think that, like, Rubik Guilliman was kind of a bad thing to happen. In fact, I am designing the background. My custom chapter are designed around being explicitly against Guilliman and his reforms. Like, explicitly. They are a spin-off of the Black Templar. They were basically kicked out of the Black Templars. They're all the extremists. They are too extreme for the Black Templars. They were all kicked out. They're a custom Space Marine chapter that have refused. They no longer paint their armor until the Emperor returns. They refuse to paint their armor, and they are the civil servants from hell. They basically go from planet to planet with these like clipboards, and they go, let's judge your planet. Or is your planet pure enough? Because let's be honest, the Imperium is under a lot of pressure right now Not enough prayer happening. Not enough faith in the Emperor. So they go around, they just make sure they judge planets based on the faith or not. And if they don't like what they see, they do a purging, they do a cleanse. They wipe out the planet and move on. So far, no one's passed. So that's been a bit of a bummer. That is a bit of a bummer. So that's my custom Space Marine chapter. And they're on their way to Macridge. They're on their way to Macridge to go see, basically to go judge the Ultramar Empire. Fun. The Duke says, what an amazing excuse to not paint, right? Right? Huh? That, and I may be painting them in a 24-hour period, so I'm like thinking ahead. Connor String says, yellow is easier with the new contrast paints, which would support sale of those. You mean this contrast paint? Oh my god, look at it. Look at this. This is your brain on drugs. Contrast Bad Moon Yellow. Whoa. Look at that. That's wild. That's wild. Holy hell. But yes, I take your point. This is a very thick yellow. In fact, this yellow is so thick, you can kind of see it, even though it's green screens for some reason. That's how yellow it is. Well, it's not going to be Sanguinius, says Alan. No, that would be kind of awesome if it was, though. To be fair, it could be Sanguinius. Why not? Why not, right? Gulliman came back. Why not Sanguinius? Why not? Just like, be like, just hand wave it. Just be like, he got fixed. He was in a tube. He was put in a tube. He got better. Done. It's a clone. It's a clone of Sanguinius. He's back. Bada bing, bada boom. Like, to be fair, like, stop for a second and think, would that be much worse than the current, like, Games Workshop writing, right? Like, would that actually be, like, not par for the course? It would just, like, let's be real. If they went, Sanguinius came back, some fella invented a clone device and did some magic and got some DNA and the gene seed from him and harvested it, and like, they put him in a tube and he was a wee test tube baby, and he came back and he's better now, and he's got the genetic memories, like, boom. Like, it could be done. It could be done. There. Captain Chaos says, Russ back or I'm done with 40k. Wow. Those are, that's a big, so that's what it would take to get you back into Warhammer 40k. That's basically the only thing, the only string holding you up is the potential future where Lehman Russ comes back. That's a pretty wild one. That's pretty intense. That's a very, I mean, it's a very strange hill to, like, really have implanted your flag. Just done it and been like, let's do it. Mr. Sounds just came to dislike that clickbait. Well, Xeon, I'm glad you joined us. I'm glad you joined us so that you could hear, get the knowledge, be converted to the truth. You're converted now. Go. I forgive you. I forgive you. And you can go now forward, and you can proselytize the words. That is, the 10th edition Warhammer 40k is a-coming next week. There it is. There it is. That's Fabius Bile, says Tommy. Fabius Bile did it. Oh yeah, I know, but, like, it could be anybody. Like, just make it, Gary. Gary the Cruel. Gary the Gregarious. He recreated Sanguinius. He was there, and he passed it down to his buddy, and then basically Sanguinius has been in a test tube for the last 10,000 years. Now he's born. He's done. He's done now. Over. He's over. He's fine now. He got better. Steele says Sanguinius is alive in the warp. There's the good half in the Sanguinar, and the dark half is with Mephiston. There you go. Sorted. Done. Klavik Kazka says, I've always heard it pronounced McRag, but would not ask for it in McDonald's. McRag has always been, everyone I know pronounces it that way. But, like, I mean, this is all gonna be like, these are made up words. These are made up words. They have no burp, you know? They got like no, they can just mean anything you want. Dark Eldar almost got the big Emperor's DNA. The fact that it has the fact they want it has to go somewhere. It doesn't have to go anywhere, Sorrow Dusk. There's lots of threads that just never went anywhere. I mean, why wouldn't they want the DNA? Wouldn't that be good? Because it'd be kind of funny, wouldn't it? Like, if I was a Dark Eldar, I'd be like, do you want to clone? Do you want to clone the Emperor just for fun and like put him in a fighting pit and make the Imperials watch? Wouldn't that be kind of funny? Like, I would just do that. What I would do if I was the Dark Eldar is I would clone the Emperor in chains, bring him with me to like Imperial planets, and show him and torture him in front of everybody and go, this is your god, is it? Oh, he's a loser. We got him now. we got him in a we make him dance and stuff for. Watch him, everybody. Right, Emperor. Do a dance for everybody. Do a little spin. Woo! Look at him, he's twirling. That's what I would do if I was a Dark Eldar. I'd be like, I don't even care. Have a little bit of fun. With him. You know what I mean? Clone him. Make it happen. Do the dance. That would be my art. In fact, I would love that to be the case. I would make my Archon. I would literally buy the Emperor model from for the Horus Heresy series. There is an Emperor model, isn't there? There is an Emperor model for the Horus Heresy. I'd throw him down on and I would get the old the old Archon model, and I would just be like, dance for your master. Yeah, Amps, go for it. That'd be so much fun. I'd love it. Remington says, how about Middle-earth miniatures? Anyone? That's often how I feel as well when I talk about anything, when I talk about Middle-earth miniatures. It's very true. The great Dark Eldar logic. Yeah, JC. Yeah, the Emperor in a tutu. Yeah, why not? It would be really funny. I'd fly little drones with big screens. I'd fly that to the Imperial, to Terra and the Imperial Palace, and I'd just go ping, big on screen, and I'd be like, yeah. I'd be like on the screen with a big microphone. I'd be like, hey, hey there, custodies. Oh, you'll never guess what we're up to over here, over in Kimura. We're having a ton of fun. Hey, do you want to meet a friend of yours? We got him right here, you know? I'd be doing that. That'd be like a ton of fun. That would be why you want the Emperor's DNA, so that you can just take the piss out of the custodies. They're all like, oh, we're gonna guard the Imperial the temple, and we'll be like, we got your Emperor right here. Woo! Dance for us, Emps. That'd be so much fun. I'd dig it. I think that'd be a ton of fun. The last time an Emperor was cloned in a sci-fi franchise, it was freaking awful, says Dislocated Design. No Emperor model, yes, says Gorkath. Yeah, because as I was saying it, like, I assumed it was the case, but as I was saying it, I realized I don't think I'd ever seen it. Which is kind of weird, actually. Why haven't they done an Emperor? I guess they don't want to did they just not want to stat him? Is that the case? Because now they're doing all the Primarchs a second time. They're doing it again, so we're going to see all the Primarchs again. Yeah. Connor said, GW stock has been filling for like a year. Is this to staunch the wound? Stock has been, yeah, the Games Workshop stock has been collapsing. Obviously, this isn't in a vacuum, so this is also a lot to do with the sort of global economy, with the UK, the health of the UK economy isn't very robust. For a while, Games Workshop was seen as a nice, safe, steady pair of hands that you could like invest into the UK, because it was such a big component of the UK economy. But that's sort of no longer the case anymore. The UK as a whole is being regarded more as a risky sort of economy to invest in. That has hurt Games Workshop generally as well. It turns out that a lot of their customer base isn't as sticky as people had thought. The profits aren't as high as people were hoping for. They were kind of hoping, I think, for like a Wizards of the Coast. Like Wizards of the Coast are like killing it right now. Like literally they're killing it. They're killing the tabletop industry. They're making so much money. They're like a big giant Henry Hoover, just hoovering up all the cash, and all the cash they hoover up, they take it from, like, you know, smaller companies. Obviously, the solidification of games like this around a single central brand is good for those who've invested in the company and for the corporations themselves. But for like hobbyists like us, obviously it's not that good, because variety is something that's good for the market. George says, you really going to annoy Henry Cavill? Yeah, like for sure. Hey, look, I really liked Henry Cavill in Superman. I thought he was incredible in Superman. I'm a really big fan of Henry Cavill. I'm a big fan of his. Though I imagine he doesn't like me, because I suspect he's one of those people who really dislike my videos. And likes to kind of engage, to leave hate comments. I get those quite a lot. I get a lot of hate comments. I get a ton of them. I don't know why though. I don't know why. So I'm just trying to adjust my. I actually put a little bit of structure into this. I put a little sticky tape down. I think it's come undone. So I wonder if I should I move to my backup hat? It's kind of falling apart a little bit. So I got another one, but it's been sitting for so long now. I think it's lost a bit of its form. I think it's lost a little bit of its form. This one has more like a Smurf vibe to it. What do we go like this? There we go. Is that better? No, I think I preferred the other one. So I'll just try and fix it. Next week, pre-order, preview is alive, says Toughy Years. Well, next week it's going to be the big new Warhammer Day. It's going to be 35 years of Warhammer. And I think that's when we're going to see... Is that better? Okay, we're just going to go with that one. Next week, we're going to see announcements for new stuff. I think we're going to see a starter box in time for Christmas. And I don't know if that's gonna like really help the stock price, but it might help the margins for sure. What launched this year? So the next annual report comes out, and it will include the numbers for Horse Heresy. I think that Horse Heresy's done all right. Now, the funny thing about Horse Heresy is I don't know a single soul who plays it, but online it seems to have done quite well. It seemed like there's a lot of buzz about it. It arguably almost feels like it has done... The problem is there's a lot of bubbles in this hobby, you know? Like, there's like... You can spend your time in a Horse Heresy community, and it feels like the game is doing absolutely incredible. Like, I know someone was saying on the Discord that they have a competitive scene at their local game store for Turnip 28. Right? So if you go to that local game store and you like show up, it sounds like Turnip 28 is like this pillar of the wargame hobby. You couldn't go anywhere without going, there's Turnip 28 tournaments going down. But like that's not really indicative of the wider world. So I just might be in a bubble. It could be because like Northern Ireland is, on the whole, really poor. So there's not a lot of people playing Horse Heresy around. Or it could be that actually it's exaggerated how well Horse Heresy is doing, because boxes can sell out, but that doesn't mean a lot whenever the actual stock allocation is controlled. And I suspect that all of the boxes the Games Workshop have done this year have been purposefully underproduced, because the Dominion boxes performed so badly that it was genuinely embarrassing for Games Workshop. Just absolutely embarrassing. Oh no, I'm losing my... And how will I maintain my dignity and my respect if I don't have my tinfoil hat? Damn. Oh god, 5G's gonna get me now. I'm gonna get the 5Gs. Jeepers. Okay, hold on. I think I got it. No, I broke it. Oh no. Oh, this is just a disaster. This is just very bad. Pointy Elves and Giant Battle Tome pre-order next week, says Toughy Ears. Pointy Elves? What elves are we expecting? Next week? I wonder if we're gonna see some of the new Age of Sigmar, Cities of Sigmar models. I wonder if we'll see that. That'll be kind of curious. I'd be interested in that. Firstborn will not die. The heresy lives. Well, I mean, even the versions of the Firstborn though are very kind of different. Right? The versions of the Firstborn are a little bit wild and wacky. Tin Hut Secondus, says Phil Urbaniak. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, you gotta have backups, dude. You never know what's gonna go down live. We're doing it live, you know? We're doing it live. For sure. Which is why you might want to check out my Patreon, because I do exclusive live streams for patrons every month. So you might want to check that out. Patreon.com/Discourse Miniatures. Though, to be fair, I haven't exactly done a tinfoil stream like this before. But maybe we'll see. Maybe in future. Maybe we'll do it more often. Because I had a lot of fun speculating about 10th edition this year. Or 10th edition coming out. I think I pulled together a pretty wild argument. Something very, very convincing. I'll tell you this much. I do think that we're definitely going to see a starter set next week. Like, for sure. I do think that we are going to definitely 100% see a starter set next week. Nugenfoot says, Firstborn only have less steroids. I mean, the wild thing about Firstborn to me, I still don't understand why Games Workshop didn't just update the Space Marine models. Well, I mean, I understand why they didn't. But they could have just updated the Space Marine models and said, this is the new models now. And everybody would have said, awesome. These look much better than the Firstborn models. I'm happy about that. And that would have been it. that would have been the drama over. But they didn't. They said, these are special Primaris models, so you're going to have to buy these as well. And, like, that's why they did it, right? Because they want the Space Marine players to, like, rebuy all their stuff. That's the only reason why Primaris can't fit in Rhinos, right? They wanted to make Space Marine players buy a new army, which is just nuts. Oh, no, I got the sellotape stuck in my hair. Oh, no. For tinfoil, obviously, says Kay Leo. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yes, the tinfoil was surprisingly expensive. So thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And it has also been ruined. So I can't use this in my lunchbox anymore, sadly. But I do. I really appreciate the donations. It makes it these wild and wonderful streams all worth it. So thank you very much. Randy Butternubs says the whole thing is like if a show recasted a character, then decided to explain why the character looks different now. Yeah, it would be like, oh, he was taken in for surgery and he came out and now he looks like a completely different person. It would be like, wow, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, you understand that we know, like, we know that it's a TV show. Like, we understand that people get recast. Just the way that we understand the problems that Games Workshop had. No! My tinfoil! Oh god. It broke. It ripped. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go to the second one. I have to go to the second one. Alright. Oh. Whew. Right. So we know that Games Workshop run a miniature war game, and we know that the sculpts don't quite accurately reflect what Space Marines are meant to be in the lore. So it would have been fine for them just to go, here are the new ones. They did it for Chaos. Like, they did that for Chaos. The Chaos Legionnaires are just like new models. That's it. Fun. Awesome. Cool. Everyone accepted it. There was no question at all. JC says, Firstborn only have less steroids. You forgot the logic crushing lore that came with them. Yeah. That's... I wasn't a big fan of the movement on the lore. Vincent says, that's why Horus Heresy was made. For Firstborn players. Yeah, but the Firstborn models are different from the Horus Heresy models because they were, like, different armor. And Horus Heresy is very much... It's basically like a historical game for Warhammer 40k. Because people are very much sticklers for the sort of, like, the mask, like, the helmets and stuff. And timelines and stuff like that. Tim says, a backup tinfoil hat? That's clutch. Well, I mean... We wouldn't want the 5Gs to get us now, would we? We have to be very careful. The moment that this comes off, Games Workshop have me. They've got me then. So I'm kind of nervous about that. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the 10th edition idea, the 9th edition, 9.5 edition idea? Did you enjoy this stream? Did you think this was a good thing? Or was this too wild? Was this too much? Was it too much? OGW brain lasers getting through, says Chili Will. Yeah, every so often when I'm not, they're coming at me. So I have to just kind of make sure. That's why I wear the glass. I can see fine. I wear the glasses to stop the lasers getting into my brain through my eyeballs. There's like a little pinhole in your eyes. That's how they zap you with the laser when you're not looking. So I wear these special laser resistant glasses. John James says, Bloody Angel heroes are cool. Hope they bring heroes out for every Marine faction. No, I don't like the blood. I don't like the heroes. Firstly, the Bloody Angel heroes line. So for those who don't know, these are like boxes, right? These are like randomized loot boxes. You buy a box, you get like a random Space Marine model inside each one of them. Firstly, the models themselves are basically recycled. There was a Space Marine Heroes line for Ultramarines like a couple of years ago. These are just the exact same models, but they're red. Like the plastic is red instead of blue. So there's like no effort put in that way. The sculpts themselves are fine, but the boxes are randomized. So you buy a box and you don't know what sculpt you're going to get. And there's like a collectible aspect. There's like 8 different sculpts that you can buy. And the Games Workshop, in an effort to sound like, oh, well, don't worry, this isn't predatory, said if you buy 12 boxes or 10 boxes, you're guaranteed to get all of them, right? If you buy like a crate of them, you're guaranteed to get all of them. So I have to buy like 10 or 12 of them to get all 8 of them, which means I'm buying like more than I would otherwise. I don't like this at all. I don't like the Space Marine Heroes. In fact, I would say actively I dislike it. Thank you very much, Scython, for remaining a member for 6 months. 30k for Facebook players, but I have to buy again to play. Firstly, I really appreciate the membership. That actually helps the channel. like a ton. If you're someone who doesn't want to go on Patreon, but you prefer to go on to, like to go through YouTube, there is a membership tier that gets you access to like the exclusive, like Patreon only kind of like Discord groups and stuff. Like there's certain chat channels that are like secret from the rest of the Discord that you get if you're in a YouTube member as well. And you also get priority reply to comments and things like that. So, but I really appreciate that, Scython, and of course the really fun emojis. Maybe I should get one that's for a tinfoil, because I think sometimes a tinfoil is necessary in this line of work. But yeah, I really do appreciate it. It really helps the channel. 30k for Facebook players, but I have to buy again to play. Yeah, like, I mean, it's tough, dude. It's like really tough in my opinion. The Space Marine players are like probably the most abused community in Warhammer. Like a lot of other army, like people who play like Eldar and stuff are like very sad that they don't get very new releases. But it could be worse. Like you could be a Space Marine player and have like 20 new releases every day that you're sort of FOMO'd and hyped up to try and keep up with, you know? John James says, unless you buy a pack of 8. Yeah. So you gotta like buy a full pack. I don't like this model. I don't think it's fun. Obviously it's an ancillary package, but I think it's predatory ultimately. It sort of plays on a gambling aspect of the human brain. I'm not a big fan of it. I prefer to buy boxes and know exactly what I'm getting. JC says, this was fun. I will wait for 11th to come out. Then we will get the super duper more Primarchs, super Primarchs. Each Marine will have 6 arms and shoot lasers out of their eyes. Here's the thing though. I actually don't mind the idea of there being like super special Marines. The problem is that there's been like 20 different super special Marines. Like you've got the Grey Knights, you have the Custodes, you have, now Primaris, and then you've got the Firstborn. That's kind of wild to me. There should have been one super special Space Marine. It should have been Chaos. Chaos should have been super special. That's it. Chaos should have been like rare, and the Chaos Space Marine should be super rare. They should have been around for like thousands of years, have fought battles against demons in the warp, and they should be like the scariest Space Marines around. Plus, they're like the baddies, you know, like the kind of overtly baddies, and that means they should be powerful. They should be like the scariest army around, in my opinion. The bodies should always be fighting from a position of strength. Otherwise, we don't care if they lose. You know, like, because if like Chaos is the underdog, it's like, well, I kind of want Chaos to win. Like humans have got a bias towards the underdog. In fairness, I do already want the Chaos to win because obviously the Imperium are actually the bodies. But like, you know, people don't know that at first glance. Looks like I missed everything. Welcome to Australia, says Black Sox. Yeah, you have. I mean, basically. So, you missed all my wild conjecture, speculation, and stringing together all these different proofs and theorems as to why this got, how 10th edition is coming out. How 10th edition is being announced. It's happening next Saturday. It's going to happen, 100% certainty. There is no doubt in my mind. I have taken a stick and I have let it lead me to the correct rule book. And every single time I hold the dowsing stick, it does not lead me. It does not go to the 8th edition book. It does not go to the 9th edition book. It goes to an empty spot where the 10th edition book would likely sit if I owned it. So that's how I know. I have a stick and I let it lead me to where it wants to go, and it leads me to an empty space. That means, therefore, 10th edition, it's a-coming. It's a-coming. Param, thank you very much for the donation, says, Space Marines should just be an elite choice for Imperium armies. That is a very spicy opinion. That is a very spicy opinion. The wild thing is that there's more Space Marines than there are Imperium stuff, which has always been crazy to me. See, like, I'm a simple soul, though. I would prefer Imperial Guard to be the faction that has all these different supplements and weird varieties, because there's all these different regiments from all across the galaxy fighting in all these different ways. And for Space Marines, like you say, to be like an elite choice for sure. But that's a different, I think that it's just, the thing is, Param, the market reality is, Games Workshop, they just want to make money, and lots of people really like Space Marines, and Games Workshop, when they've got a good thing, they will never ever let it go until it's no longer a good thing, and it's just a bad thing. They really do. They just go wild with it, you know? And from the very beginning, Space Marines were always sort of the focus, right? Because a lot of the models and stuff were just Space Knights. They were just Space Knights, which was really cool. I mean, the Space Marines have gone from a very interesting transition, for sure. But in their modern incarnation, and I would say, like, their modern incarnation kind of starts around third edition. I agree with you. They should be super. I think Space Marines should be super elite. Personally, I think you should be able to do like a full army of Space Marines, but they should be like a very small elite army. People just, everybody wants to be like a different riff on that these days. So that's the way to, I mean, honestly, the Space Marines are kind of like the default choice now as like just the Imperial soldier. My stick always leads me to trouble, says Miniature Stash. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. Mine always leads me to the correct path 100% of the time. I trust my stick. Rulebook divining, says Black Socks. Rulebook dicing. Rulebook dicing. Alpha Skag says, Lady D, that's not how you beat up Jeffy Pop. I don't know what Jeffy Pop is. Scython says, I have to agree to pair them. They should lead armies. They have eidetic memories. Don't have to sleep in hundreds of years of experience. Yeah, well, I mean, this has always been a thing with 40k. Like, Space Marines have never quite represented from the lore, like what they're meant to represent on the tabletop. They've never quite been able to sort of reflect what it is that Space Marines are meant to be. Space Marines are meant to be like this super hyper elite, like super fast, super speedy. Like on the tabletop, their stats should be crazy. They should be wild. Their stats should be more like the Custodes. And the Custodes shouldn't exist, right? But we are where we are. People love Custodes. People love Grey Knights. People love Space Marines. It's here we are now, you know, like this is the game. And I don't think 10th edition is going to wipe the slate clean. I don't think that we're going to see like Imperial, like the Imperium as like an index, and then Space Marines are like this very small part of it. It's just the game Warhammer 40k is, and Space Marines are like intractable now. They really are intractable. Vincent Cinerini says Marines should be like Custodes. Yeah, exactly. No, only GW does that, says Round Online. Lord Beard says movie Marines. Yeah, right. There's always been like these jokey sort of like versions of Marines that are sort of the to try and create the verisimilitude of Marines on the tabletop. JC says yes. 100%. Iximixil says, Marines just don't have the bodies to hold ground in the lore. Chaos Space Marines have cultists as a choice, but mono Space Marine armies make no sense. Well, to me, Space Marines have always made more sense as like a sort of a hard-hitting, like, assassination army, basically. Like, they drop pod into the Imperial Governor's Palace, right? And they kill him, and then they leave. And it's up for the Imperial Guard to, like, actually do the fighting. Like, I agree with you. Like, as an army, they don't make any sense. Like, the Space Marine numbers are tiny. They're insignificant. It's why, like, modern-day Earth... well, maybe not modern-day Earth. But, I mean, like, this goes back to my... Like, the scale in 40k, though, has always been wild. This goes back to my... If you've seen my video, not a lot of people watched it, so you probably haven't seen it, but my Gene Stealer cults versus Custodes video was basically talking about the numbers here and how Custodes could not defeat the Gene Stealer cults. Because the Gene Stealer cults literally more Gene Stealer cults are born per cultists are born per second than Custodes could ever kill. They're not efficient enough. There's less Custodes than there are NYPD officers. So, and you're talking about an entire planet worth of, like, cultists. Like, Custodes just couldn't do anything with it. And Space Marines face a similar problem. How many people is there in a chapter? It's like a company of Space Marines is, 1,000? Is it 10,000 people in a chapter? I can never remember. I think it's 1,000, right? Because there used to be pictures. I remember the old picture of the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines army all laid out. It's 1,000 Space Marines in a chapter, right? Like, that's an insignificant amount. That's just insignificant. It's like, blah, blah, blah. What are you gonna do with that, you know? Nice hat, says Rudy. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's only thanks to kind donators and patrons and members of YouTube that I'm able to afford such bling as this. Such very pretty. I kind of wanted it to be angled a little bit, give it a little bit of a jaunty angle, you know? It's sort of like what I would call the 40k equivalent of a feather in the cap. 100 in a company and 1,000 in a chapter. Yeah, like George, like exactly. Like what's happening there? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on there? That's like an insignificant amount of people. Like, but this has always been the way. You look at the numbers of battle, like in battles, you look at the casualty numbers that they write about in 40k. More people died in World War II than in most Warhammer 40k wars. right? The scale is all off. Just all off. Joseph says, yeah, I watched the video, orcs still would win. Yeah, well, orcs would probably still win, yeah, sure. I'll give it to orcs. I think orcs win generally overall, and then Tyranids win later on down the line. Numbers in 40k always feels off, kind of like Pokedex entries, says Frozen Throg. Yeah, they do. They always feel off. The numbers are just weird and wacky. I think this is like endemic to sci-fi, though, generally speaking. To a certain kind of pulpy sort of sci-fi setting. They often struggle, I think, with numbers, for sure. Paul Duckmanton says 100 Marines, and there were supposed to be 1,000 chapters, so around 1 million Marines back then. Like, that's nothing in a galaxy. Have you ever seen the galaxy? I don't know if I could do this without breaking the like my computer, but let's try and do that, okay? I'm gonna blow everybody's mind, right? I'm gonna blow everybody's mind right now. Okay, so what is this? Jesus, Traveler. RPG. Okay, I'm gonna try and blow everybody's mind here. All right, map. Here we go. See if this still works. So we're gonna go into this. Okay, let us go here. Okay, right. So there is an old RPG called Traveler. It's a sci-fi RPG. You travel from stars and systems, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, right? For those who don't know, right? It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. It's kind of an adventure sort of game. It's like a sci-fi game. It's all about getting in a spaceship and flying around, right? So each one of these here, these little dots here, is like a planet, I believe. Each one of them is like a planet that you can go to, right? Each one of them. You see those lanes? These are like hyper lanes. You can travel through, right? So we're gonna zoom out. We're gonna zoom out a little bit. These are empires, right? These are like political entities in the setting of Traveler. So you got all these little planets, and you see like the colors are all the different entities. All right. So we're gonna zoom out. Wow, like look how big this is. Here we go. So here we are, right? These are like empires of stars. These are thousands, like hundreds of stars here for each of these political entities. Here's the Empire of Gashikan, right? We're in like sections of space. We're going to zoom out a little bit more. We're going to keep zooming out a little bit. See this red? These are the core worlds. These are the core worlds. Then we zoom out again. We're still, these are all different star empires, okay? Oh, each one's a solar system, says Lee Sweeney. Yeah, so each one of those dots here is a solar system filled with planets. And you see the lanes. These are hyperspace lanes. Each little line there you can go. So we're going to zoom out a little bit more. This is the core world, right? So that way is towards the core of the galaxy. Here we go. These are the 2,000 worlds is here. Look at all these solar systems. We've got the High Federation down here. We have the Imperium, the original, the Imperium here. This is the core systems. We got the Aslan, Hirit, the Salami, Sphere, the Zodan Consulate, right? Look at this. This is like a massive bunch of like empires all wrestling over the galaxy, right? Except we're gonna keep zooming. Oh, look at this. This is all the political entities. We're gonna keep zooming. Okay. Now you can see here, look at all these star systems. Look at all these solar systems. The far side of nowhere. You can see, we zoom in again, transition 3. If we actually go towards this direction, we'll see more of different, these are like little smaller sort of empires here. You can tell where charted space is. This is all charted space. You can see there's like been expeditions to go coreward towards the galaxy, right? We're going to zoom out some more. This is the Imperium. That's the massive empire. We're going to keep zooming. Yep, we're going to keep zooming out. We're going to keep zooming. Here. Uh-oh. And we're just going to keep zooming. And this here is chartered space, okay? All of those star systems, all of those different political entities, that is all there. That is chartered space. That is all of chartered space. That is all that we've seen. And here, We're not even like, this is the galaxy. Right? We literally, like in the Traveler system, it kind of tries to get the scale of what you're dealing with here. The galaxy is a very, very, very big place. Chartered space, the thousands, hundreds of thousands of planets is all there. And then you have the rest of the galaxy. They haven't even got to the core. There's been core expeditions trying to go forward, but they haven't even reached the core. If you live in the Traveler world, you have no idea what's in the galaxy. You have no idea. And the Imperium of Man in Warhammer 40k controls all of this. So in the rulebook, whenever Games Workshop are writing about how the Imperium of Man is endless and the bureaucracy is impossible to count, they mean it. Like, it is true. Like, this would be impossible to govern. Absolutely impossible to govern. This is far too big. You're talking about millions upon billions of planets. Billions and billions of planets. There is no, like, it would be impossible. Now, obviously, the Imperium is kind of designed to be sort of like node-based, so that, you know, as a planet gets invaded, it gets big more and more and more and more. But even then, people don't get the scale. And in a galaxy like this, how can a Primarch actually make any impact at all? Like, it's the scale of things are just so big. I'll put a link to this map in the chat here. Let me just pop it on. There we go. Pop it on there for you. And yeah, so that's charted space. You zoom in, you're back to like these and this is where all the action's happening. This is it's just trying to catch up. This is where all the action's happening. It's a ton of it's a crit. Like, I think it really does get the scale much better. 40k I think has always struggled with really trying to kind of explain how big the setting is. And like, how the hell is a chapter of 1,000 Space Marines going to make any impact on this, on this at all? Like, how many? Calcidaran says the galaxy in 40k can be mostly barren because of the wars in heaven. But even still, like, I don't even think that it is. Most of the time, there's a lot of planets that are around. Garzini says, like, looking at the map for Elite Danger. Yeah, it is very reminiscent of that. Jay Bugger says, Tyranids have got their work cut out for them. Yeah, like, the Tyranids have got a lot of planets to eat. They have a lot of planets to eat. Like, if we zoom back in again, just to remind everybody, like, these are, like, this is all of space. These are thousands and hundreds of thousands of, like, all of these little dots are solar systems filled with planets. Like, it's wild. It's absolutely wild to me. Like, how big. Like, I think Traveler really gets it well. I think part of the thing is that this planet, like, this map is for Traveler, and it's designed so that your player characters in this RPG can travel around, and they can go from planet to planet, right? So it's kind of designed to be, like, big. As big as possible. No sweat. 400 Marines. Take all that, says Kevin. Got him. Got him. The Winston democracy over here, right? Like, I think that's wild. I think this is like a really interesting map just to remind people of the scale of stuff, like how just absolutely wild, like, the size of the galaxy is. It's big, yeah. Like, scale is really hard to get well in sci-fi. I think that a lot of writers struggle with scale. They struggle with numbers, and I don't blame them because it's hard. And it's hard for us, like, to kind of conceptualize how big this galaxy is and how little of an impact each individual has. People see, like, art of, like, Space Marines killing, like a bunch of, like, orcs or whatever. Like, yeah, Space Marines are so cool. Like, a Space Marine can take on 100 men. A Space Marine can take on 10,000 men. It's not a drop in the ocean. Look at all these planets. Hundreds of thousands of planets here. Like, who cares? The Space Marines, like, don't make much of an impact, really. And for a long time, the lore was that, like, Space Marines don't make much of an impact, but it's kind of gone by the wayside. Now you got, like, Primarchs and stuff running around, and that's fine. I think a Space Marine, people like the Space Marine. Again, I can't be yelled at for kind of talking about Space Marines in a poor light, right? I've got a combat patrol Space Marines here. But it's just like, it is the galaxy. It's just really big. That's why I've always liked the Imperial Guard, because the Imperial Guard, I think, do reflect a little bit more of the scale. Like, the entire point of the Imperial Guard is literally that there's just so many people that you'll just never get through them, because humans are constantly producing more guardsmen, basically, like, as a species. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Xmixel says, the other weird thing is that there are things that are more powerful than Marines and should be more numerous. A high fleet should be able to bring thousands of Carnifexes. Yeah, but it's just done for kind of balance, right? It's just kind of done for balance. So that's the galaxy. That blew my mind when I first saw it. I really loved that because it feels like such a huge empire that you see, and then it turns out the charted space is like this tiny pinprick in the entire galaxy. And you're just like, you're looking at this thing, you're like, wow, thousands of worlds. Wow, there's like tens of thousands of worlds. This is so big. This is so wild. This is so wild. And then you zoom out and it's like, this is literally nothing. It's just a tiny, tiny pinprick. Tiny pinprick. Like, you imagine each one of these is a solar system filled with planets. They're all got names. They're all planets that have like biomes and cultures and peoples, and every single one of these has a people, has a biome, and they've got political entities, and they have lives going on. And you zoom out, you zoom out, you zoom out, and the scale just goes to nothing. Like, Ultramar wouldn't even be like visible on this map. It'd be like the Winston democracy. Everyone wants to fight for the Islamic Empire, not so much for the Kali Confederacy. I don't really know the setting for Traveler that much. I just really like that map. I'm just a massive fan of that map. I just really dig it. What can I say? They used to be Legion of Space Marines. They only got broken into 1,000 strong chapters after the Horse Heresy. I mean, I know the lore. I know the lore behind it, and I understand like all the kind of like, you know, the Imperial Navy and stuff gets separated from the Imperial Guard and all that sort of, the Imperial Army, all that sort of stuff. Like, I get that like they used to be legions. It's just that even legions were pretty small. The idea of like them being able to conquer the galaxy in any amount of time at all is kind of wild to me. Big crusades and stuff. Like, I just don't. I will say, I've never read the Horus Heresy books. I know people who have. I've never read the Horus Heresy books. But, like, how long does the Great Crusades take? How long do those Crusades take? Because if it's not millions of years, it's probably not very accurate to the size of the galaxy. I want to play Traveler, says Frozen Frog. Honestly, I want to play Traveler in that map. If your reason for liking the Imperial Guard is why I like the Adeptus Mechanicus, they seem endless. Yeah, like, I mean, the Adeptus Mechanicus is the same way, right? Because they're kind of like a religious offshoot of the Imperium. Traveler at least has some sentient non-humanoids, Hivers being my favorite. That's pretty neat. Amadillo says, having seen the Traveler map, the Scale 40k's galaxy feels more like a Stellaris galaxy than the actual Milky Way. It's like an abstracted version of the galaxy, right? 200 years. 200 years, wow. That's a very short crusade. Really? 200 years, huh? There mustn't be very many planets then. Like, how the hell could they conquer billions of planets in 200 years? Like, how many... I mean, I know the crusade never ended for the Black Templars. Hell yeah, brother. I'm in for that. I'm up for the Endless Crusade. 200 years is a bit of a joke, yeah. I never actually queried this before. I never thought about this. 250 years. That's kind of wild. Yeah, it's not a very short period. That's a very, very short period of time at all. It's I mean, it's fiction, right? Like, I mean, we're not here to like try and get verisimilitude. You know what I mean? We're wearing tinfoil hats and we're screaming. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be like accurate to reality. But it's a very short period of time. Like, the scale of 40k has always been a bit wacky and wonderful. Larpier says, Heresy, Admech aren't an offshoot. Quite the opposite. Well, the machine spirit is not. It's all about the Emperor. It's all about the worship of the Emperor. Rundell says lots of planets are uninhabitable. I mean, sure, I guess. But, like, it'd have to be the vast majority. Like, we're talking, like, I mean, even if it was 0.00001% of planets, 200 years is still very, very short. It's still very, like, it would have to be, like, infinitesimally small amount of planets, right? Like, how long does it take a Marine Corps to take a planet? Like, a week? A day? There's not a lot of time in the year. And 250 still wouldn't be great. 40k is gritty, but it ain't realistic in the least. Let's look at his. I mean, yeah, I'm not getting on. By the way, I'm not getting on 40k's bone. I'm not going hard on it, being like, yeah, you idiot, yeah, you dumbass. I'm just talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't actually have any criticism of 40k in this way. I just get it. Like, I get it. It's just, the setting is kind of wacky. It's kind of funny. It's why I don't take the setting like really seriously. Like, there, you know, I get there's people out there who like really love the setting. I like the setting. But like, I'm not like, I don't look at it and go, this setting has a lot of integrity. This setting can't be changed. Like, I mean, I just go with the flow, man. I just go with the flow. John Penn says, the other thing to remember is this 40k is it's possible to arrive at your destination before you leave. No, I really like that. I really love that. I love all the time travel shenanigans. I like the warp. I think the warp was a really cool idea. The idea of traveling through the warp is a really cool idea. There should be more Event Horizon movies, I think. My little plastic chaps have the most epic story, says Jay Bucko. Exactly. They've got the most epic story. This is all about epic mythology making. That's all it is. That's why I kind of like the Horse Heresy is just like a blip, like a sort of like a myth in the past, right? It's all about mythologizing. Dorky Dad says, the imprecision of warp travel, far few inhabited planets in the 40k universe, only trying to find those formerly populated by humans for the age of strife. Silliness? Yeah, Dorky. I mean, like, look, it's silliness. I think it's just silliness, but it's all good. It's all fun. Masia CB says, who's playing 30k, right? Triarena says, Warhammer never was serious, but used to be so grim dark it was hilarious. Now it's more or less just not making any sense without being standout anymore. I do agree with you to some extent. I do miss the grim dark. Like all my armies are very grim dark, like to the point of absurdity. Like my custom Space Marine chapter, the Iron Judges that I talked about earlier. They're just civil servants on steroids that go from planet to planet, basically like your DLA checker, basically making sure that you're praying hard enough, and if you're not, they purge your planet. Like, it's grimdark, it doesn't make any sense, it's madness. There we go. I've got my Sisters of Battle, are just a crusading force that input random coordinates into their astropath, and then wherever they arrive, they assume the Emperor has sent them there to crusade and destroy. So they just randomly show up around the galaxy, blow everything up, and then pop in new coordinates. And they're like, yeah, the Emperor, right? Like, this is grimdark, but it's dumb. That's the kind of 40k setting I like. I don't really care for all the Primarch stuff. History says, I enjoy tearing a hole into space hell and getting around that way. Exactly, it's a really fun way. It's the best way. It is the best way, for sure. SLG says, honestly, when people go on about how serious the sighting is, I feel like they forgot the Imperial Fist used to have a poop pyramid rituals. Okay, I did not know about the poop pyramid rituals. That is 100% news to me. Oh! Let me tell you guys, these stream things are pretty tough, actually, in the old throat. They're actually pretty tough. It's kind of wild, because I really enjoy chatting. I enjoy chatting with people, but it gets hard sometimes on these things. Wow. SLG says, honestly, when people go... Yeah. I'm learning about poop pyramids, though. That's kind of new. I didn't know about those. That's kind of neat. Huh. All right, guys. I'm starting to win a little bit, I think. I'm starting to fade. Let's be honest. It's been a pretty wild stream. So there's been a lot of news. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of conjecture, a lot of boards with string leading to other boards. There's been a lot of truth telling, I would say. A lot of truth telling. I feel good about this. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me today. Thank you very much to everyone who super chatted. Thank you very much to everyone who donated. Shawaz, of course, the session top super chatter. Thank you to all the members. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody. Andrew McCool says, just joined, saw the clickbait. What's all this about, says Andrew. You kind of missed the push. You kind of missed the push. You might want to go back to the beginning, I guess. Basically, wild conjecture and speculation. The 10th edition is coming out next week. That's a nice hat you got there, says Maltwa. Thank you very much. It keeps my hair in place. It keeps my brains inside. Andrew says, what are the odds the 10th edition will change to alternative unit activations, similar to Bolt Action or Star Wars Legion? I have a very controversial opinion on this. I don't think it will ever happen. I do not think that Warhammer will ever go alternative activations. And get this, this is going to be a very spicy take. Nor should it, I don't think. There's a lot of people play Warhammer 40k, and they like the current paradigm. Personally, I prefer alternative activations, but there's lots of people who play Warhammer 40k. Thank you for the follow, Shop189. Apparently my Twitch, twitch.tv/discourse minis. Apparently if you follow me, it still comes up here. That's pretty neat. I wonder if I'm streaming on Twitch, which I do sometimes, I wonder if when things happen on YouTube and then it shows up on Twitch. Okay, wild. It's all connected. It's all the one thing. Anyway, I don't think that it should happen necessarily because there's lots of people who really like the current paradigm of Warhammer 40k. I think that the main problem of Warhammer 40k isn't necessarily the I go, you go system. That system obviously has design problems. Like, shooting is really strong. You can get shot off the table. But, in theory, those things can be mitigated against through the design. I don't think they are mitigated against in Warhammer 40k as it stands right now, but a better design would be able to mitigate against that. I think the main problem with I go, you go is the pacing. I don't think it's necessarily... Oh, thank you very much for the gift there of memberships. Thank you, Scython. Gifted a membership there. HP, welcome to the Discourse Airs. Welcome. Thank you very much for that. That's really cool. You can gift memberships. That's very cool. Get a little bit of super hands up there. Hello again, super hands. Yeah, so you can, you basically, the pacing is the main problem with you go, I go. You use all your models, and as you're doing that, I have, like, no interaction in the table whatsoever. My only interaction is rolling armor saves to see, like, how well you kill me. It's not, like, the funnest, most engaging thing. I think in Horus Heresy, I haven't played it, but I have played Infinity. Infinity uses reactions as well. The reaction system, where I get to do things on your turn, is an interesting model to me, and I think it helps with the pacing. Look, I'm somebody... I struggle with paying attention, right? I struggle with focusing on the table. So I need to be constantly engaged. I have a problem not being engaged. So, therefore, what happens is when you're taking your turn, I kind of zone out. I like look at my phone. I got my brain's leaking out my ears, right? I need to be doing stuff. So I need to be watching the table and seeing about ways that I can interact. They tried it with stratagems. I think they were an abject failure. I think stratagems need to go. I think there needs to be like a restructuring of... I think that something like stratagems should exist. And what that will be, I will talk about in my video next week. There will be a video next week about how I will fix Warhammer, or how to fix Warhammer. And I will talk about stratagems. I'll talk about how to change stratagems. And I will talk about how to make Warhammer 10th edition fun, I think. I think that will be the main thrust of the video. Garzini, you're on this, like, kick to, like, make D16s a thing. HP says, thank you, that's really cool. Yes, thanks a lot, Scython. That is really cool. Lee says, robot for a second, then gone. They're trying to stop me, guys. They're trying to knock me off the airwaves. They're trying to knock me airwaves. I best be going. Robot on brand. Yeah, like, can you tell that this is a very jury-rigged experience? Can you tell? I'm basically like the weatherman. No, not the weatherman. God, that's that was a bombing campaign in the 70s. I'm not the weatherman. It's the oh god, what do you call them? They drove. Come on, guys. They drove around in a van. They were ostensibly connected to Mulder in the X-Files. Oh god, what do you call them? They drove around. They were into conspiracy theories and stuff like that. That's me right now. That's me. Cinnamon Scooter says, one of my favorite parts about these videos is when she tries to speak English. Northern Irish is a spin-off of English, but it is English. The Lone Gunman. Exactly, Fungazi. Exactly. The Lone Gunman. I'm basically the Lone Gunman, is what I am right now. That's the vibe I've got. That's the vibe I'm exuding. I think, anyway. Replace Games Workshop with Discourse Miniatures? I think so, Atomic. I think so. I think I would make for a very good replacement. I will say, though, some of those jokes in that latest video were pretty good, actually. Thank you very much for the super chat, Charles. Thank you very much. Oiled and Hammered. It's kind of funny that G-Dubs is going to be on its 10th edition. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. I just about saw 3rd edition. 4th edition is where I started, though, for real. And I still can't believe that we're going to be going into the 10th edition. It does feel like the rate of increase, like the rate of editions has definitely sped up, for sure. But yeah, 10th edition, I can't believe we're going to see it. Will it be the final edition of Warhammer? Will 10th edition be the last edition of Warhammer? Maybe so. Maybe it will be that platform we talked about. What was Fantasy's last edition? 8th, I want to say. Was it 8th, wasn't it? Or yeah, it was 8th edition. It was 8th edition because Warhammer 9th, the 9th Age exists, and that is basically a sort of fan community attempt to recreate Warhammer Fantasy, 9th edition, basically. So 8th was the final one. Tree Rana says, so you're saying the foil hat is an important component of the transmission setup. It is the most important bit. It stops, basically, it keeps out hurtful rays and helps me maintain helpful rays. And distribute the rays where I need to be. So, like, without this hat, the stream would not function. Without this hat, the stream would not function. Do you think it makes sense for GW to make 40k and HSA more use the same rules? No. I think it makes sense for both games to be different. They both have different audiences. Age of Sigmar is for a younger demographic. It's for a more, I was going to say agile, because I really do struggle to kind of delicately move some of the Age of Sigmar models around. But it's for a younger demographic. It's for a, I think it's faster paced. I think it's for just different people. 40k is very much like, you'll find that Age of Sigmar often, it has a lot of the problems of 40k, but it's not quite as abused. 40k is very much the cash cow of Games Workshop. It has like the most focus from Games Workshop, and the more focus you get from Games Workshop, the more abusive and predatory the practices tend to get. Cinnamon Scooter says, as you read that message, it sounded more mean than I intended. Love your unique topics. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Cinnamon. Sorry, Cinnamon, Scooter. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. That's no problem at all. Do not worry about it. Do not worry about it. I get plenty of hate messages, so I know what they look like. So thank you very much. I do really appreciate that. Do not worry about it at all. Garcia says, keeps tinfoil hat on, only has 2 seconds of robot voice. Coincidence. Exactly, right? Like, the moment I put this on, suddenly the robot voice stopped. Seven says, I must go now. I wish you all spent a Sunday evening. LOL the hat. Ryan says, thank you everybody for joining me today. I really did appreciate it. I appreciate you taking your time out to listen to me scream and rant and cry about a new edition, and seethe and cope about a new edition of Warhammer 40k, because it is coming. And if it's not 10th edition, okay, fine, you got me. It's probably 9.5 coming out soon, which I still think is pretty big news. But we'll see, right? We'll see. This is all speculation. I'm probably going to stream next week, to be honest. I'm probably going to stream the announcement next week, so that I can be proven correct. Obviously, is the only potential thing that will occur. I'll stream next week. Stream next Saturday, and 2 p.m. BST. I was going to say PTSD, because honestly, that's what this stream is giving me. But probably like 1 p.m. BST, but you'll see it anyway, because it's on the YouTube channel. So just like, stay subscribed. Bo Pinsmini says, the problem with how 40k turns works are the interrupts. It does not respect the turn. Okay, that's fair enough. So I haven't played Horus Heresy exactly. The thing with Infinity is it has a reaction system, and it's very much built into the game. It's very much like when you're playing it, it's gotta go. It's like it's part of the game. I have had, though I will say, there's feel bad moments from it. I've lost half my team before in an Infinity game on my turn, because my opponent kept reacting and shooting my guys dead when they tried to shoot at them, and it was very frustrating. Emil says, the sad thing was that Warhammer Fantasy Battles used to be a game for deeper tactics and strategy. You say that, but my Warhammer Fantasy army was a bunch of guys with rifles, all in a line, opening fire on you. Haha, you're not having fun. You say that. Don't get me wrong, though. I am looking forward to the old world. I am looking forward to my gunline army. I'm going to do the exact same thing again. Thank you all, everybody. And I hope you all have a lovely Sunday. And I shall catch you all next time in the new world with 10th edition in our faces. Space Marines versus Space Marines. Dark Angels versus Blood Angels, brother versus brother for some god knows reason. 1,000 supplements to come. Warhammer 40k forever. I'll catch you all